Welcome to Friday on the AM show. Always a pleasure hosting you. This is Bernice Abubedu-Lanza and Benjamin Agbo bringing you the finest of morning television. Now this morning, joining us for our news review, we'll have some of my colleagues, Bernice, together with Samuel Kojo Brace. But when we get into our big stories, but maybe before that, right before we get into our big stories, I'll give you the third installment of my blunt thoughts today. And this morning, I'm going to be sharing with you a very interesting matter, something we're all familiar with. I'll just tease you by holding on to what I'll be discussing. But when we get into our big stories, we're going to be reflecting on major issues that caught our attention this week. One, COVID-19 expenditure and matters arising as government is said to have spent some 18 billion cedis on the pandemic. Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin says the Finance and Health Committees should investigate the matter further. There also is the COVID surge and scare, and the Ghana Health Service is urging Ghanaians to go back to COVID protocols. We'll bring you details of that. Number two, we'll be talking about food security, as CEO of the buffer stock company, Abdul Wahab Hanan, is attributing the shortage of food and hikes in prices to cartels hoarding food and creating artificial shortage. But is that the reality? We get into that all-important matter. Our third crucial matter that we'll be looking at this morning, the Okada business operators in Accra, who are revealing that some pillion riders, despite the risks they are exposed to, simply refuse to don crash helmets for fear of contracting COVID-19. What do you make of all of these? Well, don't you forget to share your thoughts with us as we reflect on these all-important matters. The hashtag is AMShow. When we activate the phone lines, be sure to call and share your thoughts. Don't you forget, my blunt thoughts coming your way at around 7:15, 7:20 this morning. But up next, we'll bring you the news.
Last working day of the week. It's a Friday, and welcome to the AM News here on the AM Show. My name is Pakwesi Shandov. So our very first story, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin says that the demand by school feeding caterers for an increase in school feeding grants is justified. The caterers want an upward review of grants from the current 97 pesos to 3 cedis per school child. The caterers recently embarked on a strike to drive home their demand. According to the Speaker, who paid a surprise visit to the school feeding secretariats, said that 97 pesos to feed a school child is woefully inadequate.
Of the issues that were agitating our minds, you've thrown light on them. And I'm happy that the staff strength is not too large, and I will urge you to maintain that, not to increase the numbers so that we'll rather be spending too much money on the emoluments than the object of the initiative to target the poor, vulnerable children, particularly in the rural areas in the country. We're grateful for what you're doing. We see that really there's a challenge. The challenge is in financing. Definitely the caterers, as we said, they do the pre-finance. And because of the global economic situation, which has definitely affected Ghana, there's a need for an upward adjustment of the amount that you give to them. Definitely 97 pesos is on the low side. Their demand is justified. But as to whether government can reach up to the 3 cedis a day is another issue we all have to discuss. It's with this that I want to call on other stakeholders, including the private sector and charitable organizations, to come on board. I think it's a very critical initiative, a very good initiative by the former president. It's a national policy that is supported nationally by all of us, and it's passed through various governments. So it's something that we should all put our hands on deck. And I want to assure you that Parliament will do our bit. We'll be taking the sector ministers on board. We'll give them a few queries, and then we'll look at it and see how we can support them to generate more revenue.
National Coordinator of the Ghana School Feeding Program, Gertrude Kwashiga, assured that the concerns of the caterers are being dealt with.
MMDCs in the area, the regions also called on behalf of the caterers. And so for us, we rely on government for payments. And so we have assured them. We will always continue to plead with them and to encourage them, and then to actually calm them down and to console them. Yes, we do that all the time. So I've assured them that last week we received 50 million Ghana cedis from controller. Last week, Thursday, I would say a week today. So we're able to use the Thursday, Friday to transfer the money to Gibbs for payment. And so Gibbs also did their due diligence and then prepared the file for payment. And then that payment went on Monday. Because of course the weekends, they don't work during the weekends. So we assured them that let's wait and see. But my fear is that we're in the salary period where workers are being paid their salaries. So I don't know whether there'll be money, but we are only praying, because we've talked to controller and then all the account staffs there, and they have assured us that we should take our time. So it's not too late. We'll still be hoping that something can drop.
Now, the Speaker's surprise visit also took him to the National Buffer Stock Company, where he expressed concerns about the recent hikes in food prices.
You know how food is critical to our lives. It's one of the 5 most essential ingredients of human life. Apart from air, water, I think the next thing is what? Food. And after food, you can have clothing, and then the next, shelter over your head. These are the 5 critical ingredients of life, and we have to focus on it. So this was a very good initiative by the earlier government. I think it was during the time of His Excellency Professor J.A. Mills that this was started. And it was for a very good purpose. And so recently, when it now came out to all of us that it looks like the school feeding program is collapsing, and the caterers had to react, you know. And you know, ladies usually, you know, are very tolerant people, and the caterers, I can commend them highly for what they've done so far. For so many days, they are using their own resources. They're crediting food to feed our children. And now they are compelled to come out to cry because they owe and they cannot pay, and government is not able to pay. One of the ways or means of solving this is how we can get the National Food Buffer Stock Company properly stocked with food items to come in to alleviate at least the recent upsurge in food prices. And so my first visit is to see the state of the company, how you are faring, the challenges facing you, and how we could, particularly Parliament, react to try and solve this.
Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the company, Abdul Wahab Hanan, described the shortage of food and hikes in prices as artificial, created by food cartels.
Our major challenge has to do with the other aspect of buffer stock, which is stocking for government emergency use as a food security, the buffer as a food security reserve. That has always been our challenge. Other actors in the market are taking advantage of government inability to provide this alternative to sell their commodities to consumers at any price that they deem it fit. And some of them are making unrealistic profits, taking advantage of the situation to make unrealistic profits. So, Honorable Speaker, I am very happy. We are very happy to have you here, and knowing very well that we are the first institution you have visited. If there's going to be any action taken, we will be the first, because food is very, very important. Today we are keeping oil for a raining day, bust, and food is also very, very important. I'm not sure our armies can go to war on an empty stomach. Our students cannot also learn on an empty stomach. I'm very happy with your opening remarks when you said food, apart from air and the water that we drink, food is very, very important. And my lieutenants here, men and women, are very much capable to handle any expanded project of the government.
Now, both majority and minority leaders of Parliament have pledged the support of the House for the development of Jata Cement, an indigenous Ghanaian cement manufacturing company. The two leaders were in the company of some members of both committees on trade and industry as well as works and housing. They toured the company belonging to Ibrahim Mahama, former brother of former President John Dramani Mahama. But how exactly will the House do this? Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante now reports.
Jata Cement is a fully indigenous, wholly owned Ghanaian cement company hoping to penetrate the Ghanaian build market. The factory is getting a major push with leadership of Parliament, promising the support of the House. Both the majority and minority leaders say the factory needs support to survive. The two leaders were in the company of some members of both committees on trade and industry, as well as works and housing, who toured the company belonging to Ibrahim Mahama, brother of former President John Mahama. According to the minority leader Haruna Idrisu, government must support the business to grow, irrespective of what Ibrahim Mahama's political coloration may be.
The success of potential indigenous Ghanaian businesses, what it does is to wake up the political elites of Ghana to grow above petty partisanship and grow indeed truly Ghanaian indigenous businesses, regardless whether the person has this political color or that color. It requires some support, enormous financial support. This should not be above the state.
Meanwhile, Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu says the housing deficit in this country must be bridged immediately, and an indigenous Ghanaian cement company could play a critical role in this respect.
The cost of power. If the cost of power was low, certainly the cost of the product would also come down. So there are some obstacles to overcome, and we should all assist him to overcome this, because cement really is at the heart of the construction business, including the construction of residential facilities. We all do know that the deficit in housing in the country is in excess of 1.5 million. And we need cement to do the construction. So if the cost of cement is very high, then those of us aspiring to build houses, like all of us here in Assembled, including some of you that I know, will not be in a position ultimately to have your own residential facilities.
Owner of the company, Ibrahim Mahama, cited the cost of power as a major challenge.
Future, what our main goal is to be able to work backwards. We found a few limestone deposits, which we're talking to a few families to integrate that. The cost of power today would hinder most of the projects that we want to do in Ghana, not only for the cement, even for the iron ore and other businesses in Ghana.
The company employs 400 Ghanaians at the moment and hopes to expand to employ even more.
Now, the Upper West Regional Branch of the National Association of Graduate Teachers is threatening to impress on the National Association to declare a nationwide strike should government continue to turn a deaf ear to their concerns. The graduate teachers at a press conference in Wa addressed by the Upper West Regional Chairman Harun Yusuf Kader say they are now living on life support and can't bear the brunt of the harsh economic conditions anymore. They are prepared to lay down their tools if the situation fails to change by the end of June. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam now reports from Wa.
Flanked by the association's regional executives, majority of whom wore red armbands or red polo t-shirts, Upper West Regional Chairman of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Harun Yusuf Kadri, opined that cost of living in the country is rising with the speed of light, which has and continue to affect the livelihood of members who are suffering to build the nation. He noted that prices of petroleum products, coupled with the introduction of new taxes, has further worsened the plight of the teacher, and yet the salary of the latter remain unchanged.
Price of fuel, goods and services continue to rise by the day, in addition to introduction of new taxes, which has worsened already bad situation, yet the teacher's salary remains the same. Between January and now, fuel prices have increased by over 50%. The teacher today is virtually living in a life support.
Harun Yusuf Kadri juxtaposed prices of some commodities at the markets between January and June this year and the increasing inflation in the country.
In January this year, a cake of geisha soup was selling in the open market at 3 Ghana cedis. Today, it is 7 cedis. A tin of ideal milk, which was sold at 3 cedis 50 pesos, is now sold at 7 cedis. Cement was 48 Ghana cedis. Today, it is 68 Ghana cedis. As for iron rods, the least spoken of it, the better. 1 gallon of Azar paint container full of tomatoes was 7 cedis in January. Today, it is 35 Ghana cedis. Almighty Momo of 1% tax has also escalated to 2.25%. In January 2022, inflation was 13.9%, and in May, it doubles to 27.6%.
He recorded several calls made by NAGRAT and other sister associations, drawing the attention of the government to their plight, which the government has turned a deaf ear to.
Prior to this request by the Secretary General of TUC in November 2021, NAGRAT, NAT, CCT, and TEWE had made similar requests. Again, on June 7, 2022, the Vice President of NAGRAT, Mr. Jacob Anaba, held a press conference requesting government to, as a matter of urgency, grant workers COLA of at least 20%.
Now, some residents in the Mamprugu-Boadure district of the Northeast region took to the streets to protest rising insecurity in the area. The residents held placards, sticks and other objects and marched through their communities to demonstrate against the frequent robbery attacks and kidnappings by armed men. The residents therefore called on the regional minister, Yidana Zakari, to put urgent measures in place to address the increasing state of insecurity in the district. Correspondent Ilyasu Tanko now reports.
The Mamprugu-Boadure district in the Northeast region is witnessing rising insecurity with armed attacks on roads leading to farms and market centers. Already, the district is said to have recorded over 15 robbery and kidnapping cases combined since the start of this year. The district, which was created 10 years ago, still has no established police station, with less than 20 police personnel currently present in the district of over 68,000 people and covering a total land size of 2,150 square kilometers. Due to this and several other operational challenges, most of the communities in the district have been left with no option but to mobilize and take charge of their safety and protection. This was the case on the 20th of last month in the district when 4 armed robbers arrived on motorbikes to attack a fuel station in the Kubori community. The residents responded to the attack, leading to the arrest of one of the attackers, who was said to have died later and was secretly buried. In reaction to the death of the suspected robber, armed security personnel from the Regional Police Command stormed the communities on the 9th of last Saturday, June 18th. 25 people, including minors, were arrested, whilst others said they were tortured by the security personnel, leaving them with injuries. This young man is one of the victims. He is completely broken and paralyzed as he narrates his ordeal that night. They used the butt of their guns to knock my eyes repeatedly. I cried out to my mother. I said, "They have damaged my eyes." As my mother rushed to my rescue, they shoved her off and continued to beat me until I blacked out and was unconscious. His mother, who could not recollect her age but is believed to be over 70-year-old, corroborates the narrative of her injured son. They were telling me to get inside, but I refused and told them I would rather die with my son than stand to watch them kill him. That once I rushed to save him, they would push me off and drag me to the ground. I have bruises all over my body. This 80-year-old man also claimed to have been assaulted by the police day teacher who had just arrived in the community to prepare his lesson for the week. Says he's still in panic over what he saw.
For me, I have just lost this in policemen. In fact, I do respect police people a lot, but this incident made me to just lose confidence in some of them. Because that day I was not having my phone. I was trying to capture the number of cars that they brought. Even if they are to arrest the whole Mauduri township itself, they will not bring that kind of vehicles here.
The police also arrested a final year student of Yagaba Senior High School. His mother appeals for him to be released to take part in their upcoming final year examination in the school. My son is innocent, and so I appeal to the police to release him immediately to join his classmates for their upcoming final year examination. The police have since released 20 people, leaving 4 in custody after a screening exercise was done following the arrest. The 2 communities had been emptied as the residents fled after the police raid. The residents, upon return, decided to mobilize and took to the streets in protest over the police action and their failure to provide them adequate security. They held placards calling for state protection against armed men in the area. They accused the police of doing nothing as robbers attack and loot their properties every day and demanded the unconditional release of their brothers who are still being kept in custody. Abdullahi Dambasedu spoke on behalf of the protesting residents.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, there is no major road within the district that is safe to travel, especially after 6 p.m. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, irrespective of how the police behave in this matter, we the people shall continue to defend ourselves against these irresponsible criminals as the police lack the fortitude to protect us.
Now speaking to Joy News, the Northeast Regional Minister Zakaria Idana urged residents to exercise restraint and allow the law to take its course.
Ghana is the nation of law. And once this has to do with Burkina and Ghana, they are international protocol. They are our neighbors. So if the complaint came to them from His Excellency, the Ambassador of Burkina, for them to do due diligence, I'm just clear in my mind that we allow them time to do whatever they have to do to get to the bottom of this matter. They are on remand. Remand means that they are in lawful custody. It doesn't lie with me as the regional minister to just go and give a directive to the police to get them released. We will have to follow through due process.
Indeed.
And I think exactly that is what is happening. The regional commander told me that they have to appear in court on the 29th. So let's see how things pan out when they appear in court. So a nation that is governed by law, it doesn't lie within my power to just give instructions to the court or to the police to get them released.
Let's now return to the capital, where at least 5 people have been arrested at the Agbo market by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Sanitation Task Force for littering and dumping waste into public drains. Some of the people had set up their shops on the shoulders of the road, obstructing the free flow of traffic. Michael Ashali was with the team and filed this report as part of our Clean Ghana campaign.
Why dear? Why dear? Come, brah. No, let's arrest them. Pick it to the car.
Sanitation officials ordering the arrest of an onion seller. Her offense was doing business on the shoulders of the road.
Send it to the car yourself. Hurry up, otherwise we will arrest you.
Others were also picked up for failing to properly dispose of their waste. They had gathered rubbish right at the edge of the open drain. Their wares were confiscated.
You see, we have a central container at the market. So all that you do is that your trade refuse, you take it to the central container.
The sanitation team lead for the exercise, Gordon Akorea, told Joy News the arrest was preceded by several cautions.
Yeah, we did announcement on several occasions. We did announcement, we sensitized them. They know. But sometimes when you want to use woman face, they don't respect that. You understand? But don't do. They'll leave it here in the night before you realize they pour everything into the drainage. So we are going to look for, the owners have run away. We are going to look for Abuboya to pack all of them into the Abuboya. The owners will come. Then we'll prosecute them.
Commercial tricycle operators who were busily tending to their vehicles on the shoulders of the road were asked to vacate. Before that, they had to tidy up the place.
Hurry up, organize all your boys to go and clean the place. Hurry up.
The way they talk, if it is the water, if we then remove the water inside, nobody remove inside the water. So you matter there, everything you talk, if you throw back, because of your work.
Some of the vendors abandoned their wares to escape arrest. Gordon Agoria says, although they try to enforce the bylaws, it has been fraught with many challenges.
You realize that we don't have enough task forces to position them in the various places. And then, you see, Agbo is not the only place we have. We have other markets like Makola number 1, number 2, London market and all that. So you can't be stationed at one place. If you are here, the other place will be left lonely.
Despite the challenges, the assembly is determined to ramp up enforcement to instill discipline.
To be honest with you, for the traders here, they actually violate the law with great impunity. And we've realized that if we don't put safe measures in place, we will not be able to bring sanity to the situation. So now we are going to ensure that every day we patrol here. When you...
How long can you do that?
Oh, every day. For the next quarter, for the next 3 months, we are going to be patrolling here to ensure that we bring sanity to this particular place.
I think that will work?
It will work. It will work. For the past 1 week, we realize, you can see that there's free flow of the road, because mostly they sell on the shoulders of the road. But for this week, none of them is on the road, but they are still in front of the dwarf wall, and that is why we continue to seize their product. And from tomorrow, we are going to arrest they themselves. Instead of seizing their products, we are going to arrest they themselves.
That's all for the news. Do have a pleasant weekend. My name is Pakwesi Shandoff. I leave you in the company of Benjamin and Benes.
Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to dig into the newspapers. And I nearly said something, but I'll keep it to my chest. One of my favorite people, Samuel Kojo Brace, is here.
One day you'd have to explain why I'm one of your favorite guys.
Yeah, one of my favorite guys.
There's a reason,
Top shutter.
There's a reason people don't know, and one day we'll have to talk about it.
What reason is that?
Hold on. You want me to go full length?
What the reasons there? My kind of tell simple. What the
Because
reasons
people will be wondering, but why is this guy one of his favorite people?
So I can tell all of you, this gentleman is very humble, very affable. He's just a nice guy. And when we get on the show, you know, he seems to be my alter ego. We seem to think alike. Obviously,
the real thing is there. You're not talking about it.
Or but that one I will not expose it on there. Charlie, good to have you.
Good to have you, man, Charlie.
All right. I'm gonna say COVID said monkeypox today, so we should. But how we go do up?
COVID is coming back again. Our cases went down, so down.
I mean, we're in the hundreds. I think even beneath the hundreds.
Yeah.
And now we're over 1,000 again.
Yeah. And so it's a source of worry. It's something that should cause all of us to start thinking about our responses again, because it got to a point, too many people were not wearing the nose mask.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's about time we have to rethink that and start wearing the mask. It's about time we start doing the hand washing.
Yeah.
Most organizations still do have that washing, basing and soap in front of the offices. So let's start washing our hands and drinking more water. You know, at the height of it, we're told that we should hydrate
more. Yeah.
So we should be drinking more water and avoiding public places when obviously it's not.
I mean, mass gatherings allowed, but if you can avoid the gathering, or if you can, even at a mass gathering, if you think, hey, these people are not donning masks, I want to distance myself a bit. It's your personal security.
Exactly, yes.
It's your life.
Health is say certain things are personal choices.
Yeah.
Whether I want to eat meat or fish is a personal decision I need to take. So your health is a personal decision you need to take. No one should force you to. So you have to decide to wear the nose mask. You have to decide to say, okay, this gathering is not so important for me to go to, so I'll stay home. I mean, that's how we can.
Those are the dynamics, and that's how we can beat, you know,
the COVID.
These scourges. But I have this morning Daily Graphic, Ghanaian publisher, The Finder, and the Daily Guide. What papers do you have?
I have the Ghanaian Times, the Republic, and the Custodian.
All right. How about we start with the Ghanaian Times?
Okay. Today's the day for us to know.
D-Day, the GJA elections.
Yes.
Yeah.
After so many postponement and several court brouhaha and all of that, today we are going to elect who will lead us. So
you know, there were fears that I mean this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
On the back of the person in charge of the elections, the lawyer, you know, stepping aside, resigning just a few days away, and then so I was actually looking forward to how things would pan out, and I'm happy that it's about to go down. And we'll get, you know, new leadership.
All right. Now, so it says, who leads GJA? Journalists to decide today. The full story is on page 16. Make Africa food sufficient. Oforiatta charges peer countries. Car owners abandon vehicles for trotro over fuel price hike. Really? Okay, so let me check the food price, food sufficient thing out on page 15. You know, when it comes to food, I love food. I love to talk about food. So yeah, that's what it is. Now it says the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, has called for increased investment in agriculture and its value chain by African states to help make the continent food sufficient and lift millions out of hunger. See, tomorrow we are bringing on our food chain. We're talking about rice production in Ghana.
Okay.
I visited a rice farm in Simpa.
So many areas come to mind. Avema in the Volta region, in the northern belt. There's this place.
You just give me the belt.
Escapes me.
I mean,
the northern belt especially.
The coastal, the northern, the middle belt, everywhere. Most places we have the land to cultivate rice. Now, we just need to have the right investment. Look, I know a company, you know, that is into rice production, is looking for funds to expand its farms, because when you want to rely on the individual farmers, you struggle to get the produce.
Right.
See, sometimes people will love your produce. For you to supply them continuously becomes a challenge because we don't have those large farms. So we need to pump investment into the production of rice, into agri. I mean, in general, but I'm just using rice because...
And rice is one of those components that, you know, it's a no-brainer that after all this while, we've really not got a hang of it. Because look, you see what Nigeria has done.
Yes.
In terms of the... when we're about to play the World Cup qualifying matches, you know, the BBC had a lot of engagements, some with our very own Gary Al Smith, I think George Ado Jr. and others. And there was an interaction, you know, Ghana-Nigeria, that kind of beef. They were just playing. But there was an eat-out talk about rice and all of that. And the Ghanaian was talking about rice, and the Nigerian jabbed that, but we use homegrown rice. How about you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to say that we don't have a homegrown component, but you look at it, it's a drop in the bucket. Look at the billions we spend every year. Poultry, sugar, flour and the like, and rice especially.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that we are letting all of this money, because basically what we are saying is, come and take our money. Because we are not producing this here, a chunk of it comes from outside.
Yeah.
Hard currency, dollars and the rest.
Travels out of the country.
Go outside. It's building someone else's economy.
Exactly.
Creating employment in someone else's country. And you claim you lack jobs, especially for
that is the point. See, I know rice farmers who only need investment to expand their farms. And they are struggling to get grant outside because of some of the, you know, requirement. You need to show ABC and all of that. But when you know that the person has started, he has a factory, he has a processing plant to process the rice, our government through the central bank. I'm saying this because you know the Ghanaian who led the Nigerians to have that bumper harvest in rice last year, Abraham Juma.
So we have the people who can, can show us the way.
Yes, the guy is the consultant Nigeria used to have that bumper production in rice.
Did you see their rice pyramids when they were flaunting them?
What he told me was that what they did, he had to convince the Central Bank of Nigeria to invest heavily into the rice. And they did that at a very reduced interest rate. And that's the result we're seeing. So it means that if our central bank should decide today that I also want to help rice farmers to improve production, we can. Because look, today, have you heard anybody who says, I don't eat rice? I've heard people who tell me...
We like talking about, fufu and banku and da-da-da-da, but I think our number one staple is rice.
Because I've had people who tell me,
your wache, your jollof, your plain rice, your fried rice, go to events.
See, I've had people who tell me, I don't eat fufu, but I've never heard anybody. You don't eat fufu?
I don't eat fufu.
Yeah, but you eat rice.
Most definitely.
And we have the lands, If you go to Takwan Swayim, you go to Shama in the western region, Kumasi, you go to Volta region, a lot of places.
We have the land, and not just that. You see, the rice paddies, they require a certain texture of soil and even...
That's what I'm saying.
We have all of that available to us.
Today, what's happening in Shama, for example, is that these ceramic companies are extracting the soils that we could have used to grow rice for the production of ceramics. It is because as a country, we have not been focused. We are doing everything haphazard. If we should have a focused policy to say we want to master in rice production, that by 2030, 2035, we want to eliminate importation of rice or reduce it to the barest minimum, then we can focus on these areas and try to stop some of these things from happening. But because we are not, we are just jumping all over, all around.
And that is the whole point. It's a lack of coordinated, proper planning. So we like to say, for example, the other day when I was having an interaction, and just to end so that we can move on to other papers, some of my panelists, I think on Tuesday when we were talking agric and food security and all of that, said that, look, something like planting for food and jobs, sometimes instead of narrowing things down to certain things or areas, we like to broaden it, but sometimes it makes sense to focus on, let's say, let's do this. Let's work on maybe this region. It's a bumper. Let's do this. Let's do that. Go to places like the Congo. They could focus on a specific place and make it a breadbasket. Unfortunately, they have their own problems. But just to wrap, when you have all of these problems, and you know the agric minister has been saying, look, banks be more willing to lend to farmers. But you have floods coming to sweep away, farms and all of that all the time. How many banks would be willing to take that risk? You get it? When you could have also invested more, when they see you doing more, for example, for the rice, then they will say, okay, let's put our money in here because the business is booming. But say, so
the finance minister should move from just talking about we should invest and rather show the willingness to invest. We should pump the money into it because, look, agric has the potential to create millions of jobs. We're talking about youth unemployment. Agric has that capacity, that potential to help us eliminate.
I don't think we should say agric has the capacity as though before independence.
It did.
It did. Till today, it does.
It does.
As I share my blunt thoughts today, it's one of the things I will mention. You can take away the service industry. You can take away industry itself, manufacturing and all of that. Our natural resources, gold, cocoa, and all of that. I mean, the rests, what really we depend on. You have almost 40% of your population, the working, active population, involved in agriculture. So why we are where we are, yet you have sat down, Malaysia has come for your palm oil. They came, interestingly, we taught them, we showed them the way.
Yeah, today they are leading us. That's our story. That's why, we should just wake up. We should really. If we want to go anywhere, we should wake up.
Let's quickly do the Daily Graphic newspaper. A year on, Neoplan still in distress, but government stands by pledge. So what exactly am I talking about? Government is completing arrangements to place coach manufacturing company Neoplan Ghana Limited under the 1D1F. As part of the plan, government will also match the bus assembling company with a solvent financial partner to ensure that its operations are well funded. This comes almost a year after the government promised to give Neoplan Ghana a contract to produce 100 buses as a measure to revitalize the company and prevent it from holding up. However, the company is yet to sign any contract to produce a single coach for any company. Just a bit of history. In October last year, during a tour of the facility, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo promised to supply the company with 100 buses as part of the interventions to save it from closing down. Promise. Shall we leave it there? Just like Commander. You know, recently we've been told again that Commander timelines, and as for Commander, sometimes my heart bleeds when I look at it. Because yes, while we also want to watch our obesity levels and, you know, sugar has its own benefits, overdoing it, but again, imagine if we produced a lot of our sugar here. You know, we are so wealthy.
Very.
And there are so many things we could do to, now we're struggling with the dollarization of our own economy. We're struggling with the hike in the dollar rate pegged to our CD. When if we were to do all of these things, it would mean you are importing way less. You have more access to you know, hard currency, and you expend it on crucial matters. But as it is, we are expending it on the most nonsensical matters. We are buying V8s, and we are doing all kinds of things that don't inure to the benefit of the common man.
But wasn't the dollar, the import substitution, the reason for the promulgation of the 1D1F initiative?
Right, but that started with Nkrumah. That was actually his policy.
Okay.
That's why we had so many factories, hundreds of factories.
You know, this weekend I drove by the Agbo glass factory.
Oh.
And I looked at it and I said, wow.
Yeah. We had the shoe factory, the leather tanning factories. Those were supposed to feed, for example, the police service, you know, the services, police, prisons, and all of that, so that we don't, now everything is from China.
Yeah. So it's about time we try to, you know, go very hard on some of these things, on trying to put money into things that would help us reduce the importation we do. Sugar, we spend a lot of money. I mean, for food, it's something we should invest so much into, because we spend too much money importing food into this country, from poultry to sugar to rice. I mean, why? Why can't we do the things in this country to let the money that we export outside stay within the country, and for us to create jobs? Because look, for the poultry industry, for example, if you are importing all your poultry from outside, have you imagined the jobs you are creating in someone's country? Those jobs can be created in your own country. If we would shelve our selfish interest aside and rather put the national interest ahead of us, I think it would help us. But in Ghana, we do see that most people are only self-centered. It's about you taking my business away from me, because someone thinks, because I import poultry into this country, if you should improve the poultry industry in Ghana, you're going to take away my business. But why? Should you be the only one eating in this country? Shouldn't myself and my family also be eating? Shouldn't Kofi and Amma be eating wherever they are? If you help develop the poultry industry in Ghana, you create jobs, more jobs.
Look at what we're doing with the soya bean. We're allowing everything, we allow others to come. And with all due respect to these people, they come and do their own business. I mean, if your systems are loose, that is what will happen. Others will come into your system, take advantage of it, and your own nationals will be at the receiving end. The Lebanese, the Indians especially, and all of that. I mean, legitimate business, you can't fault them. But the point is because our systems have failed. By the way, I just checked. In 2020, Ghana imported $151 million in raw sugar, mainly from Brazil, Morocco, Guatemala, France.
$151 million.
So imagine we had a booming sugar industry. We're producing the sugar cane, and we're doing the right things with them. Imagine. I remember living in Cuba, and you would go to, in fact, you could travel certain places, province to province. They have a number of provinces. And all you see to your left and to your right, plantations. Sugar, what do you call it? Sugar cane. Because they are one of the biggest. You see, they are even on our list.
Places we import sugar from.
Brazil, Morocco. Okay, so I don't see it here. But Cuba is one of the biggest, producers of sugar as well.
We just have
we are.
We just have to be serious.
And we have the arable land.
Yes, we do. That's a problem. That is the problem. We do, and we just have to invest in it and try to look. Every day I say that the people who think that if things develop in this country, they will be taken out of business. They should see it this way. If I'm an importer of chicken, I'll then negotiate with the poultry farmers in Ghana that, okay, I need, say, 14 tons of poultry product. Can you produce for me? I put the money in here and get the produce and become the sole distributor of it. I still make my money. So the poultry farmer will not produce and still sell on the market. He or she will give it to you, the distributor. You go around distributing for others to sell. And that's the value chain. That's how we need to develop. But people think if the local poultry industry develops, then my importation business is cut short, because if I'm making, say, 10% profit, I'll be making 2% when I deal in Ghana. But have you thought about the long-term dividend?
Yeah.
Such that nobody would come and knock on your door that offer, help me. But rather, everybody or most people will become self-dependent because you took that one decision to say, let's stop importation. Let's put the money into the country because we have the capacity to do all of this production.
Let me wrap with the daily graphic. Page 13, $48 million data center opened. It's a 20 megawatt colocation data center which has been inaugurated at Amahia in the Adenta municipality in the Greater Accra region. And Parliament okay 74.15 million euros for Takwa water project. That's it with the daily graphic. Maybe to wrap on the back page, Idrisu Baba, midfielder extraordinaire. There's a bit of a piece on him. Let's check out some other
the custodian. How do you pronounce? You are the English person. How do you pronounce this?
Custodian.
Custodian.
That's another problem.
Custodian.
Or my muhaya bro for pronunciations.
Pacho. Agriculture.
What is custody?
It's
custodian. So
custodian. Okay, yeah. I mean, when you watch the Joy News channel, what you get is you get to hear the right pronunciation of words, right? Especially with Ben Akapo on the show. Anyway, Ghana backs PanAfrican vaccine project. It comes with a picture of President Akufo-Addo and the president for Rwanda there. Muntaka Isaac Esiama sober after clash. Ghana fined 5.8 million euros for 2012-2016 financial failings. Oh, okay. 47 battle for 10 positions in the MPP. Now, when you check the page 3 of the custodian, it says President Nana Akufo-Addo has given assurance that Ghana will help make Pan-African vaccine manufacturing project highly successful. You know, at the height of COVID, Africa decided that we want to produce our own vaccine. So the president of Ghana, Rwanda, another country, went to Germany to sign an MOU there for help in setting up our own plant to produce vaccines here. The last time I spoke to...
I think South Africa is in the lead on that. At a point, I know there was something in the offing. Because we were also told about certain things, but I don't know how it's panning out as far as our own country is concerned.
Okay.
Any details on that?
It says a consortium of Ghanaian pharmaceutical companies led by Dex Vaccines Limited is working closely with BioNTech Rwanda, BioNTech Germany, and Kenop to finish and package the drug product in Ghana from the plant here in Rwanda. President Akufo-Addo reviewed. So Rwanda is the place where the plant has been set up, but they are going to produce for all of us in this continent. Let's see how this goes. It's a good thing, and we would only wish that it comes to fruition for all of us to benefit from it. Yeah.
All right. Let's quickly look at the Daily Guide newspaper. ECG cuts off Ketia. You know, they don't pronounce it Ketia. They go like Ketia. I say Kakari. Anyway, let's find out why. So, power supply to the new Ketia market in Kumasi, the capital of the Ashanti region, has been curtailed. The ECG reportedly took the bold action on Wednesday over a 5 million Ghana cedi debt. The facility was said to owe the power supply agency that whopping amount due to non-payment of light bills.
But let me take you back to the custodian newspaper.
Okay.
Page 6.
Right.
Interest rate on Momo loans to go up. The chief executive officer...
Did you read that correctly? Maybe you're not seeing right.
Interest rate on Momo loans to go up. A lot of people should be ready then.
I know people who will be screaming right now.
Okay, so he says the chief executive officer of Let's Go Ghana, Arnold Parker, has revealed that interest rate on quick loans will increase in the coming weeks amid rising interest rate on the money market. Quick Loan, an innovative financial solution by Let's Go Ghana and MTN Mobile Money, provides short-term unsecured quick and convenient loans to subscribers of MTN mobile money, which are currently at 42 million in total since inception. A lot of people are borrowing from quick loan, but the interest rate on that one is to go up in the coming weeks.
When you look at the middle spread of the paper, Davido offers scholarship to Ghanaian student. A Nigerian musician, Davido, has offered a Ghanaian student, Moro Suleiman, a 5-year scholarship to Adeleke University. Yeah. So that's a good one.
I'm told,
Davido, we salute you.
I'm told he's also sponsoring some other student in.
Oh, I know in Nigeria, for example, you remember his birthday thing that he did, raising funds, donating to charity and all of that. We want to see more of our own celebs also doing that. The celebs, no, what is it? Ghanaian publisher newspaper, Birth and Death relocates to Shia. Akufo-Addo reaffirms Ghana's support for vaccine project. Muntaka Isiama fight over committee report. And then we haven't been paid a dime. Fertilizer suppliers tell finance minister. We're back to square one. Maybe I'll wrap with Finder newspaper.
You see, that is something that we should help. When people do or execute projects for government, government should also go about paying them promptly. Because look, some of them go for loans with a high interest rate. They will execute the project.
Timing is everything.
Yes.
We have to go, but timing is everything. And that's why some of them will also smuggle the fertilizer, because by the time it gets to them, they are done with what they would have needed the fertilizer for. The season is past. And so they think, oh, then let me pass it on to the next country. And that is the problem. The Finder, Africa needs common strategy to mitigate economic challenges. Dr. Baumia says so. Let's wrap with your set of papers.
Well, Republic says, get your booster shot. Ghana Health Service charges as active cases soar. So, because the cases are rising, please, those of us who are vaccinated, try to get booster shot. Those who haven't, try and get your jab. So it says the Ghana Health Service is entreating those who are fully vaccinated to get their booster shot at the service, as the service is set to embark on a vaccination campaign, hoping to get more people to go for their jabs. The move is also to encourage people to go for their boosters to prevent an escalation of the spread of the coronavirus. So that's it there.
So we have to go, Kojo, but it's been refreshing. And I like the fact that sometimes we can pick issues like agric and just go full throttle on that.
All of us should be interested in it, because who you are is what you eat is, I mean, how do they say it?
Who you are what you eat.
Exactly.
Right.
So you need to ensure that you're eating the right thing, and that comes from where? Farming. How are we investing into farming? Are we just playing lip service with the sector, or we are serious about injecting funds into it? We are not, because I'm into it. Look, I supply local rice. I don't want to say local rice. But if you look at the farmers and how we are not able to sustain all year-round production, it is because the funds in that sector is limited. But people are becoming aware. People are now choosing to eat Ghana rice. Why aren't we putting money in there? Why isn't the government being serious about it to pump a lot of money in there? We have a lot of money. But when it comes to resource allocation, I think that is where our challenge is.
That is where our
we need to do the right things. The central bank, the government should decide and set our priorities right. It is until we do that that we can reap the full benefit.
They also say your food should be your medicine. And if we get it right, I mean, look at the benefits. But sports will be coming up next. But let me just tell you this. Right after sports, I'll be bringing you my blunt thoughts for today, like I've done over the last 2 weeks. This will be the third installment. I kept it to my chest. This morning, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Ghana's morbid annual flooding ritual. Yeah, Ghana's morbid annual flooding ritual. Why we are still at the mercy of nature. You don't want to miss that. But up next, sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Stay.
Good morning. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. On Thursday, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sports and Culture investigating the Ghana sports showing at the African Cup of Nations 2021 in Cameroon has described its meeting with Black Stars captain Andre Ayew as cordial. According to ranking member of the committee, Kwabena Mensah Woyome, the meeting was very, very helpful.
It was a very cordial meeting between the committee and the Black Star captain. It was actually a follow-up on the request by the Speaker of Parliament after I presented a statement on the floor of Parliament with regards to the outcome of the Cameroon, should I say, the AFCON. So that we have been at it for a while now. And so we met with every stakeholder. And today happened to be his turn, so he came. Said that a report that needed to be done properly, it's all about how best we get our industry going. It's not about any witch hunting. It's about probably getting something that will feed into policy and help build a strong, more formidable industry going forward. And so I think that is basically what it is. And so you would also recall that at the time maybe those statements were made on the floor, we were inching towards going on recess. And so not long after that, the House went on recess. So we've just returned. Okay, so and we are continuing what we've been doing. I mean, I think that is what it is. There hasn't been any change in that. There hasn't been any change.
Honorable, finally, who are you meeting next, and how soon do you think you can present a report to the House?
I don't think we will have to meet anyone except after the committee goes through the report, the draft copy and everything, and we think there's a need for those we invited to probably come back and clarify anything. Probably that might happen, but I'm not too sure. So it's for the entire committee to decide. And so that is what it is. So some draft copy, I believe, might be ready pretty soon. We will all begin to have copies and go through them. And if any particular member thinks that there's some need for some further, and better understanding or clarity brought on whatever was said earlier, and then we have no choice but to probably re-invite whoever. I mean, that might that the committee might think it's necessary to re-invite.
Maybe after investigating why the Black Stars have not performed in recent years, they should also be investigating the Black Starlets, because they have also failed to reach the African Cup of Nations for the 6th time since 2001 after losing to Burkina Faso in the Waffle Zone B Under-17 tournament. It was the semi-final game. Kofi Bewa, a youth football expert, tells Joyce was the country is more focused on results rather than development.
I believe that, this is very, very easy. The government has a policy that states that, senior high school is free for all kids. They should join with the Ghana Education Service, because when you are looking at the youth level, under 15 and 17, these are children who should be in school. So when you have kids in school, you're able to organize inter-school competitions, galas, festivals as such, and we can see the developmental progress of these children. But when they decide to use stopgap measures, just like we saw, then we will also always get these results.
If you say stopgap measures, just as we saw, I'm a bit confused, because if you take a look at the system of the Ghana Football Association, since 2015, they've had regional youth champions, specifically for U15 and U17. And under the Keto Kreko administration, they also rolled out the KGL Under-17 League, or more of a Champions League, to pick specific talents they think are good to feed into the youth system. Why is this still being described haphazard based on what you're just saying?
The reason I would say that is that when the people who are going on these trials or going on these regional training tours lack the technical expertise, obviously you would get these sort of results. Let me give you an example. Most of these programs were run on weekdays. And if you're looking for an under-17 child or an under-15 child to participate in an event, during a weekday, you would have to take permission from his schools. So majority of the kids that participated were not in school.
And this time around, you can have as many as 15 players on the bench as substitutes. in the FIFA World Cup. Let's wrap up with local stories where Kotoko Royals, their president, Linford Asamoah, has revealed the club will be working to ensure that their facilities are up to the standard required by the Ghana Football Association for Premier League football. Their current stadium, which is the Advanced Sports Stadium, does not meet the standards of the club licensing regulations because it hosted only Division 1 matches. And he says that efforts will be put in place to ensure the facility is ready ahead of the new Premier League that will start on September 9.
Achim Oda, a hilly town in the eastern region of Ghana, is the capital of the Kotoku traditional area. Agriculture, mining and tourism are the main economic drivers of the home of Kotoku Royals, newcomers in the Ghana Premier League. The town's passion for football is immeasurable, and its ageless dream of producing a Premier League club has become a reality. Residents cannot wait to throng the Oda Sports Stadium, which was constructed in the 1960s. Kotoku Royals are working round the clock to ensure the stadium meets GFA club licensing requirements before the start of the new season in September. Linford Asamoah Boedu is president of the club.
There are a lot of things in our facility here that we need to improve up. The inner perimeter needs to be improved. The field itself needs to be improved. The goalposts need to be changed. The dressing rooms and the administrative block need to be renovated. The tunnel from the dressing room to the field need to be renovated and fully completed. We need to have stands. You have to create a media center. And also we have to ensure that sanitary facilities are always here, making sure that everybody will be fine. We have to create access for ambulance so that if in case of emergency, then it can have a free access to move the person. We have to do a lot of things to make this place complete. But we are confident that after ascertaining the facts of what we have to do, we will fully accomplish that project before the start of the season.
Linford Asamoah Boedu has stressed the need for Kotoku Royals to play their Premier League home games at the Oda Sports Stadium.
People in the community, all from Nsamoah Adreji. Nobody knows Nsamoah Adreji is under Achim Oda. It's a Kotoku town. You know, so all the surrounding towns and villages are under Kotoku. Many people doesn't understand the Kotoku. Kotoku is a traditional name which cut across 119 towns and villages. You understand? So all the people in the Quincy, Abrim, Asaman, Kese, Aprade, Asenim, there are a whole lot of towns. We are going to ensure that we form supporters union in all those towns. And we will make buses available, and they will come as a festival. So our home game will be more like a festival to bring all Kotoku and traditional area together and making sure that we celebrate. So the Premier League teams who are coming here, they have to come here with very...
It's going to be a Waterloo.
Waterloo.
Team can win.
Yeah. The supporters alone will give us one goal.
Kotoku Royals have become the first Achim Oda club to secure promotion to the Ghana Premier League.
And talking of the Ghana Premier League, the FA announced on Thursday that the competition will return on September 9 and that the Super Cup will be played on September 4. The league fixtures for the Premier League will be released on Tuesday, July 26th. That is the calendar of the Ghana Football Association. The league will go on break in November for the FIFA World Cup and return after the tournament in Qatar. This is our wrap-up AM Sports here with me, Muftar Nabila Ablai. You can head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. Up next is the blunt toss of Benjamin Akakpo. Stay tuned.
Thank you for staying. It's another Friday, fellow Ghanaians, and in the patriotic spirit, I'm about to serve you my blunt thoughts. I've titled my piece today, my national reflection this morning, Ghana's morbid annual flooding ritual, why we are still at the mercy of nature. Fellow Ghanaians, it was the 7th of April 1960, right here in Accra, and in the heat of tensions between the United States on the one hand and the United Socialist Soviet Republic, that is the USSR, on the other, when the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah actually uttered those famous words, underlining Ghana's stance of non-alignment. We face neither east nor west, we face forward. Today, however, we face east with China and west with the United States and Western Europe. Not necessarily bad, considering we are in a global socio-economic village. But we failed, crucially, to face forward on the point of core, tangible, rapid development as a people. A typical example is the subject for my discussion today, our yearly flooding ritual. Here is a snapshot from my daily graphic archives of Accra getting flooded in July 1968. Just stay with me. You would see in this story about how on July the 4th, 1968, there's talk of Accra getting flooded. Many parts of the city were flooded and vehicle owners had to leave their cars and wade through the floods or hire people to push the cars out of the flooded areas. Now, you also look at the same year, December the 13th, and guess what? Same situation. The drains were not cleaned and some were so sandlocked that they overflowed, whenever there was a little rain. And it talks about poor sanitation threatening lives in Accra. Do you see the startling similarity between Ghana then and now? We're in 2022, fellow Ghanaians. Our population has grown fourfold from about 8.3 million in 1968 to some 30.8 million per the 2021 census. Yet our leadership hasn't yet matured to the challenge of solving real-time problems. They know how to play the blame game, but not how to take responsibility, take the bull by the horns, and resolve issues once and for all. 54 years since 1968. And this is not to say Accra and different parts of the country weren't flooding before then. But after all this while, Accra, Cape Coast, Takoradi, all the major cities, many other parts of the country are still flooding. Aren't we ashamed of ourselves? In 2015, and I say this with great pain and embarrassment, an unnamed Canadian citizen bets $10,000, standing to get $23,750 if he won, that the Twitter hashtag Accra Floods, which trended that year, would trend again in 2016. Needless to say, he won. If he were to have bet again last year, that is in 2021, though I hear the betting company terminated that kind of bet, he would have won this year too. That is a serious indictment on all of us, most especially our leaders. When your misfortune is so predictable that others can even bet on its happening, then you know you are in a real mess. Thanks to poor leadership, we became a laughing stock. This is what this Canadian man had to say when asked about his curious bet. He said, "Normally, I do not bet on events like floods because of their unpredictability, but the events in Accra are slightly different. Having done a quick Google search, I discovered these floods and the resulting destruction have been occurring year after year. And the Ghanaian authorities always make big promises in the aftermath of such disasters, but they go straight back to sleep when the rainy season is over, only to come back and make the same promises the following year. I don't have to be a genius to work out what will happen next year. It's pretty obvious, so I thought I'd put some money on hashtag Accra Floods trending again." Sad. Terribly sad. But whom can we blame but ourselves and the people we opt for to lead us? Here's what makes it so comical, though. We are fully in the know that every year without fail, the rains will come. Yet we wait for disaster to happen year after year. Isn't that madness? I mean, who does that? Who sees disaster coming and goes to embrace it with open arms? Well, we do. In the preamble to our 1992 Constitution, we the people enter a contract with our leaders. Quote, "In exercise of our natural and inalienable right to establish a framework of government which shall secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings of liberty, equality, opportunity, and prosperity, and in a solemn declaration and affirmation of our commitment to freedom, justice, probity, and accountability." 3 days ago, when Takoradi flooded, a poultry farmer with 4,000 birds shared a video of how he had lost about 95%, that is about 3,800 of his active laying hens who were killed by the flooding. His words were, "Never have we experienced this level of rising waters. It was devastating." In like manner, just this past Tuesday, Enyonam Manye, a snail farmer, shared with me right here in this studio how a cabbage farmer in the eastern region last year lost about 10 acres of his produce to a flood that totally wiped out what would have been his harvest. For people like these, can we say they are enjoying what the preamble to our 1992 Constitution, which I just read, preaches? The blessings of equality of opportunity and prosperity, of justice, accountability. Can we say that? In this current economic environment, if you incur such a loss, how do you even bounce back? Especially when those loans are now so expensive, thanks to the Bank of Ghana upping its policy rate. How do they pay their debtors? The Agric Minister is begging banks to give loans to farmers and is upset they aren't. But for a country whose economic backbone, bar services, natural resources and industry has been agriculture, we could have pumped even a quarter of what we are spending on this hideous national cathedral there and seen amazing results. But no, God forbid that our political leaders would be so innovative as to do any such thing. We'd rather erect a monument to insensitivity and obstinacy than sacrifice anything on the altar of the ordinary person's well-being. Such warped prioritization. It's like not even having enough to buy food to eat, yet deciding to spend a loan that is offered you to do business with on fancy clothes. Do you see just how unintelligent that is? Whenever nature coughs, we catch a cold in Ghana. Yet other countries with leaders who have foresight have been able to successfully battle typhoons, cyclones, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, etc. to an appreciable extent. Japan, knowing it is as earthquake-prone as it is, puts up buildings that can stand even the most violent tremors. Here in Ghana, city authorities allow people to build on waterways and even on major fault lines like we have along the McCarthy Hill stretch, which is susceptible to earthquakes. Do you see the difference in approach? Just last year, parts of the Volta region got overrun by the sea. We spoke a lot about that, even about how the mortal remains of some had to be exhumed in Salakope and reburied elsewhere to maintain the dignity of the dead. We've gone quiet now. When it happens again, we shall all jump on the bandwagon and talk up a storm. This is not just a vicious cycle, it's a circus. I know there are some who would definitely say, but these flooding problems didn't start today, and they aren't even unique to Ghana. I concur. But at the same time, that's precisely why we elect leaders to solve problems. Tell me, what were the circumstances when some parts of Germany last year and parts of China this year got flooded? Extreme conditions that we call force majeure situations, because no matter how well prepared you are, these circumstances are so extreme that you can only try to contain the force of nature as well as you can. But in our case, we are so ill-equipped and ill-prepared that a downpour of 10 minutes can flood certain parts of Accra. That is a complete failure. We elect leaders to lead, and if you cannot lead, then shove off. If you can't stand the heat, you get out of the kitchen. As a people, we must wake up and smell the percolating coffee. It's that simple when it comes to leadership. Leadership is akin to computing in this respect. The garbage you put in is the same garbage you'll get out. Giggle, garbage in, garbage out. The sound ideas, fulfilled promises, and the rapid development we'll get will only be as good as the leaders we choose. And we have only two choices, really. Our leaders are either African or Africant. I repeat, we have only two choices. Our leaders are either African or Africant. They either can or cannot do the work. And if they can't, we should keep giving them the boot until we find those who can. That's the way it is. Just hold for me. Wait. I'll take you through the next few slides just to give you a better understanding of what exactly is happening. So look, in terms of flooding in Ghana, the World Bank estimates that $3.2 billion, 4.45% of our GDP, is the worth of economic assets that are at risk of flooding in the Greater Accra region alone. The value of assets at risk in Greater Accra region, that is $3.2 billion, could quadruple to $12.8 billion by 2050 if the right steps are not adopted. Now stay with me. $547 million. Keep that figure in mind. The equivalent of 4.3 billion Ghana cedis could solve 87% of the flooding problem in 2022 and 2023 in Accra. $547 million could solve the flooding problem in 2022 alone with a balance of 1.9 billion Ghana cedis. Don't forget the $547 million or the 4.3 billion Ghana cedis. But let's take a quick look at the performance audit report on the provision of flooding control drains in Ghana. You would realize that while we projected between 2015 and 2019, our target was 110 of these, we only completed 12.2. The next slide will also show you that while we wanted to construct retention ponds, which are integral in terms of preventing flooding, our target was 18. Guess what we completed? Zilch, 0. When you look at all the projections we have made in terms of construction work to mitigate flooding, it's a plan, 2022 to 2024. Look at how much we've budgeted in 2022 alone. Greater Accra region, 780 million. Ashanti region, 337,000. Western region, 268,000. It goes on and on. And look at the projections in terms of kilometers of these drains we want to construct. In the Greater Accra region alone, 21.7. All of them are here. There's no data for Western, North, and the Eastern regions, partly because they are not so flood prone. But let's look. Now that we've looked at the cost of what it would take to actually get us over the bridge, look at the cost of building the National Cathedral. The project cost $350 million per government. Rebuilding the Judicial Trading Institute per Okudzeto Ablakwa's permutations, it could cost us $50 million. Relocating the companies and entities that were there, compensation and all of that, $100 million, again, Ablakwa. The seed money, we all know, $25 million, as provided by the Finance Ministry, and then Sir David Ajay, the consultant architect, pocketing $22 million. That's according to Jata Cement. Put this together, you get a whole sum of $547 million. The same amount we need Ghana for to solve 87% of the flooding problem in Accra, or solve it completely in 2022. That is our situation. So when you look at the differences, you would realize that for a total of 205.04 kilometers of drains, we would need that sum to get it, 5 billion. And like I mentioned, we would just need the same $547 million. Priorities. I would like, as I cap this all off, to undertake a very simple exercise with you. I shall take a page extract from Professor Chinua Achebe's masterpiece, The Trouble with Nigeria, published 39 years ago in 1983. Now, wherever you see or hear Nigeria, I want you to replace it with Ghana. And I want you to tell me whether what he described as far back as 1983 is not exactly what we are witnessing now in Ghana in 2022. Are you ready? Let's do this. Where the problem lies, as Professor Chinua Achebe of blessed memory writes, he says, the trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. There is nothing basically wrong with the Nigerian character, or the Ghanaian character, if you like. There is nothing wrong with the Nigerian land or climate or water or air or anything else. The Nigerian problem is the unwillingness or inability of its leaders to rise to the responsibility, to the challenge of personal example, which are the hallmarks of true leadership. I am saying that Nigeria can change today if she discovers leaders who have the will, the ability, and the vision. Such people are rare in any time or place, but it is the duty of enlightened citizens to lead the way in their discovery and to create an atmosphere conducive to their emergence. If this conscious effort is not made, good leaders, like good money, will be driven out by bad. The countless billions that a generous providence poured into our national coffers in the last 10 years would have been enough to launch this nation into the rank of developed nations and transformed the lives of our poor and needy. But what have we done with it? Stolen, salted away by people in power and their accomplices, squandered in uncontrollable importation of all kinds of useless consumer merchandise from every corner of the globe, embezzled through inflated contracts to an increasing army of party loyalists who have neither the desire nor the competence to execute their contracts, consumed in the escalating salaries of a grossly overstaffed and unproductive public service, and so on ad infinitum. Whenever two Nigerians meet, focus, stay with me here. Their conversation, whenever two Ghanaians meet, their conversation will sooner or later slide into a litany of our national deficiencies. The trouble with Nigeria, or Ghana, has become the subject of our small talk in much the same way as the weather is for the English. But there is a great danger in consigning a life and death issue to the daily routine of small talk. No one can do much about the weather. We must accept it and live with or under it. But national bad habits are a different matter. We resign ourselves to them at our peril. This, brothers and sisters, is why I do what I do. I don't want to resign myself to fate when a great destiny awaits us all. We do so, as Chinua Achebe makes clear, at our own peril. So the next time it rains and your community gets flooded, you know exactly whom to blame. The leaders who only lead by name, not by action. They are the problem. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I am passionate about Ghana and Africa as a whole. I firmly believe we can change the script of our seemingly woe-begone continent. To do that, though, we need to change the way we think and act and say no to leaders who fail to deliver. These are the means we can employ if we mean to reap the benefits of the manifold resources we've been blessed with as a country and as a continent. These Ghana 4 are my blunt thoughts for you on a Friday morning, served hot, raw, unedited, and undiluted. God bless Ghana. Thank you for staying with us. We kickstart our big stories this morning, and our panelists will review major issues that caught our attention in the course of the week. We'll talk about COVID-19 expenditure, accountability, as the finance minister delivered in Parliament, and the speaker saying the finance and health committees should investigate the matter further. We'll also look at food security, and as the CEO of the buffer stock company, Abdul Wahab Hanan, is attributing the shortage of food and hike in prices to an artificial shortage. We'll also explore the bit about the Okada business and operators in Accra revealing that some pillion riders, despite the risks they are exposed to, are refusing to use the crash helmets for fear of contracting COVID-19. We'll be getting the details from our guests this morning. Dr. Osai Kwapong is a CDD fellow. He joins the conversation. Samuel Bing is with the Parliamentary Network Africa. We also have Dr. Charles Nyaba, President of the Peasant Farmers Association. Edward Karewe, as we know, General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. And Cecil Gabra, Dr. Michael Owusu, a virologist at the KCCR. Cecil Gabra, of course, is a roads and transport expert. So let's get into the nitty-gritty now with Michael Owusu, who is a virologist at the KCCR. Let me start with you by inquiring, are you surprised that we're seeing another surge in the COVID, what some people say sixth wave, fifth wave, and all of that, but especially on the back of the 28th address of Mr. President, you know, concerning easing of restrictions and allowing mass gatherings and not being obligatory to use masks and all of that. Is there any linkage? Are you surprised that we are where we are again, facing a spike in the figures?
Good morning to you, and good morning to all your viewers. For me, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because I knew we will get to this point because of the behavior of the virus, how it goes about what it does. If you have followed the trend, you get to understand that every wave does not just come like that. It comes as a result of changes in the nature, characteristics, and properties of the virus. Within the first wave, you are very much aware that we had what we call the UK variant or the Alpha variant. In the second wave, we had the South African one, which was the Beta variant. In the third wave, we had the Delta variant from India. Then in the fourth wave, we had the Omicron, which was also first detected somewhere in South Africa. So currently, what we're experiencing is that Omicron has now about 5 sub-lineages. The lineage 1 and 2, what we call the BA1 and BA2, are the ones that contributed to the fourth wave. And across the globe, we have now the B4 and the B5, which are very much, so much transmissible, almost 70 times what we knew for BA1 and BA2. So, if you have a virus mutate and then is able to attain that high level of infectivity, you can already predict that this is what will contribute to the next week. Talking about the restrictions and the easing of restrictions announced by the president a couple of months ago. Ideally, if you have the numbers going down and numbers come to zero like we recorded. It is in place to put in policies and measures that will allow for people to have free movement, engage in activities and interact and do what it's supposed to do. But as soon as you have numbers beginning to spike, especially when you have records of these variants detected in country, what it means is we need to revisit these kind of pronouncements and relook at how to model this, especially the question of the use of masks. The president mentioned that people are encouraged to use masks, but you see a difference. I mean, when you encourage people as against making it mandatory.
Exactly.
When the word
because even when it was
there,
mandatory, people were flouting the rules. Even when we were obliged to do it, some people would still not do it. Now that you ease it, I mean, then I don't know. I think it was in Bono East or Bono region where the regional health director was complaining bitterly about the fact that people were simply it had basically come to zero.
Exactly. Even in the healthcare facilities, where you will expect that people who have knowledge of this COVID will pay particular attention and be more careful, even for patients who visit their relatives. I mean, for public who visit their relatives, they don't care. And if you tell them to put it on, the next thing they will tell you is that the president said it's not compulsory. So we need to look at this in the heat of this fifth wave. And I think that mask wearing is one of the key things that we have to, once again, go back to the earlier pronouncement and then, I mean, make it mandatory. I mean, it doesn't affect anybody to say that mask wearing is mandatory. Sanitizers, you remember, I mean, a couple of months ago, people have small sanitizers in their pockets, in the cars, but you don't see that anymore. Even if you want sanitizer access in facilities to sanitize your hands, you don't find them.
Right.
But not there. Even in the schools, most of the schools that used to put Veronica buckets at the doorsteps of the schools with soap and water to wash the hands of the kids when they enter and leave, they've suddenly abandoned this. So this, I mean, if you have a new variant come into a country, and then the people in the country are not strictly following through the COVID protocol. It's like petrol, and then fire. Fire.
Right.
You provide the medium for the virus to ride on. And so far as you have people that are not taking advantage of these protocols and to abide by, the virus will only increase and rise. So we seem to have given way for the new B4, B5 to run through the population. And as you have seen the numbers already going up, this is going to go up to the highest peak if we don't do something quickly to see. I mean, the only fortunate thing about this is that this B4, B5 is not that virulent compared to the Delta from India. So the possibility of causing death is much lower than the Delta variant which we saw.
And I'll have you hold it right there. Yes, we've recorded some deaths in recent times, and as for the numbers, they've just ballooned. I'll come back to you later as we look at the realities on the ground and what, like you're saying, we ought to be doing to forestall what you're suggesting, that if we don't get a grip on it, we could be laughing at the wrong ends of our mouths. But let me also engage Cecil Gabra, who is on phone to deal with an aspect of the conversation we're having. Cecil is a transport analyst, an expert, actually, a roads and transport expert. And for you, Cecil, I know you've heard us talking about COVID-19. There's a fitting angle we're bringing in this from, because Okada riders, when you look at the latest statistics in terms of accidents, they seem to be faring well. But these operators are now telling us that when they get their pillion riders, they tell them to don the helmets, but they refuse because they are afraid that it's being used by a number of people and they could contract COVID-19 from them. Let's start the conversation from there. We have law, what the law says, and the pillion riders are doing something else. How does that wash on you? What's your take on that, to start off with you?
Thank you so much, and I'm happy you brought me on this particular issue.
It's always a pleasure.
It is true. I have also found out that this is what most of the Okada riders are saying. And however, they are not even supposed to operators, Okada riders, it's an offense. If you look at the airline, it's stated so clearly, right? But then this is what they are doing. And I feel this is so wrong for the general public who are mistakenly seated on the Okada as pillion riders to say so. They should put on masks for their own safety. Wear your mask and then put on the helmet. But then if Okada rider himself is putting on his helmet, and then you, the pillion rider, who is wrongfully seated on the motorbike, is not wearing the helmet, and I find it so wrong, very, very wrong. Already you have committed an offense by being a passenger. And then, in fact, I think the two of them must be arrested.
So both the Okada rider and the pillion rider are breaking the law. But the point is that, Cecil, we know they are doing it anyway. So let's look beyond that, because the laws have not caught up with them. I mean, sometimes you see them go, MTCT officers are at the traffic intersections, whatever, they let them through. So let's live with that reality for now. But the point being that in flouting law 1, they are flouting law 2. Both of them must don crash helmets. But the excuse is, oh, we're afraid of catching COVID-19. And look, the reality is, I've had an experience before. When you sit there and you have to don this thing, sometimes so many people have worn the thing and it's so sweaty, it's so smelly, and you're afraid of all those things. Yes, the law says you must don it, so you will don it. But for those who say will not don it, what does that really mean?
Well, I think they are wrong, and then they are risking their own life, just like we are all saying now. In the case of COVID-19, it is you and your God. If you are not protecting yourself, definitely you will catch it. So it's much better to put on. I mean, if I'm a pillion rider and I'm going to sit behind an Okada, the best thing that I'll do is rather I would put on double mask. Okay, and to save my life, one, in any case of contracting COVID-19, and then secondly, I would rather prefer to even wear some parts and sit behind a motorcycle. So they must wear. It's you and I. We all have to wear the mask and save our lives. That's the best thing I can say.
You would don a double mask and then put it on and all of that. Beyond that, in terms of enforcing the law, at least for the second aspect, that is ensuring that they are using crash helmets. Interestingly, I've been seeing a lot of them doing the right thing lately. So I find it interesting that the Okada riders are saying pillion riders are refusing to do it. But in terms of the legal framework, how do you think we can manage this?
Well, I know the LI is being amended, but I haven't seen the part that talks about Okada. But then, for me, forever for it that Okada must be banned. I mean, it shouldn't be a situation where life should be lost on it. So, if COVID-19 has come to stay with us, and this is also the situation, then I feel it's a good opportunity for the law enforcers to make sure that if even your the rider's brother seated behind as a pillion rider, you must wear your mask to save yourself from contracting COVID-19. And then, however, this must be part of the laws if LI 2180 is being amended.
Cecil, we are immensely grateful for your time. Cecil, Executive Director and Founder of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. You have a busy schedule this morning. Thank you for making the time for us, sir.
You're very most welcome.
Great. I'll come back to you, Dr. Osai. So on this beat, I mean, you've heard the response. I just want you to wrap up with two comments. One has to do with the bit that Cecil just spoke about, the helmets, and people saying, we don't want to contract COVID-19, and so we are not going to don them. And then, in terms of COVID generally, what would be your take, the measures you would have us adopt so that we don't end, on the wrong side of the scourge?
So from what Cecil just mentioned, you see the grave knowledge gap for these riders, and there is what we call hazard management training for driver courier riders, which has a component for infection prevention control and bike safety and bike security. So what you expect them to do is to apply the same infection control measures for surfaces and also for hard substance like the helmets. It means that at any point in time, you must have sanitizer, you must have tissue, which is placed at some vantage point. Whenever somebody wears that, he has to spray around, use the tissue to clean those surfaces and make sure that it's safe. And also by close of the day, when you take it home, you have to make sure you wash the soft parts, dry it, and then you reuse it again.
Dr. Kwapong, is this practical? I mean, look at our Okada riders. I mean, how many of them have you seen carrying even sanitizers? To talk of carry all these things you speak of. Let's be practical. Is it realistic?
Well, it may not sound so, but we have to do this for the good of all of us. They have a concern. The concern is that their fear is that people may contract this and others don't want to wear it. But what do we do? So we must put in some level of support, especially in this era of pandemic. If you have to engage them and train them and put in some measures to ensure they abide by it, it is good. So if you have a party which has a concern, then you also have to find out what you have to do to lead them along the line. If they don't have that, then of course it could be a requirement that if you have an Okada moving, you must have this in your car, sanitizer, you must have a small tissue, you must train people of how best to conduct themselves. It may be a bit theoretical, but what do we do in the midst of this? You can't prevent them and put the lives of people in danger. So we need to balance this and ensure that at least you put on your masks, you also try and sanitize the hard substance surfaces, and you also ensure that at least on 2 or 3 days, you make sure the soft parts are well cleaned and well washed to allow use. We can think through this, and the transport industry, minister with all the hierarchy for GPRT and all the other management members along the line can have a policy and have a manual and have some standard operating procedures to guide them as they go through this, so that we'll be able to at least help. And don't forget that this will not only prevent COVID. We're talking about monkeypox. Monkeypox is a virus, and it still can be destroyed by these same sanitizers that we are using and by adopting good infection prevention control measures. Influenza is also there. The rainy season is circulating. So we are looking at multiple things within this period. So it is better for us to begin to put in these measures so that we can reduce the impact of this. And in case it has to happen, we know how best to at least deal with it.
Dr. Michael Owusu, thank you so much. And pardon me for calling you Dr. Kwapong. Dr. Michael Owusu there sharing his thoughts on this all-important matter. We're very grateful for your time. Now from there, now that we've taken off on the COVID-19 front, as well as the Okada riders and what they've been saying, let's touch on food security. And the CEO of the buffer stock company, like I've mentioned, Abdul Wahab Hanan, is attributing the shortage of food and hikes in prices to cartels hoarding food and creating artificial shortage. But is that really the truth? Joining us, Charles Naba. He is Executive Director, Executive Secretary for the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Mr. Nyaba, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
It's a pleasure having you once more. Let's start off with your reaction to what the CEO of the buffer stock company says, that, well, there is no real shortage. It is just artificial. It is people taking advantage of the global crises, COVID-19, the Russo-Ukrainian war, and hiking their food prices, and by so doing, creating an artificial hike and an artificial shortage as well. What is your reality?
Okay, thank you. Good morning to your colleagues and then the expert.
Right.
You see, we are all concerned that the food prices are going high. Not only food prices, prices of almost all commodities are going high. To the extent that Ghana is rated among countries with a high cost of living, the whole world. It's a matter of concern. But let me indicate that the impression created by the CEO of the National Football Company, I do not support those claims, and I don't think it is the case. We need to understand that the current food that is being sold in the market is not just only middlemen, but also farmers. What we do is that the farmers do usually sell everything and keep the money in the bank. They stock some, and then during this time around, they now release them and then use it to do their production. So it's a usual thing that farmers do every year. Now, the reason why this year is cost high, and then you are also seeing it has to do with several factors, some of which are domestic and others are external factors. And I would have loved the CEO to have acknowledged that. Now, it is also worrying. It is concerned about cost of production itself that farmers are going through. Nobody's thinking about that. Producing of maize 2021 was around 1,500. Today it's around 3,700 to 4,500 per 1 acre. So the farmer who has maybe 10 bags of maize to sell will not go and sell that maize the price of 2021, because when he sells that, he won't be able to buy fertilizer and then chemicals to farm this year. So the farmer will also expect to increase the cost to be able to buy the inputs and produce this year. And I think the CEO should concern about that. Secondly, what is the mandate of National Food Buffer Stock Company? So in the first place, I would say that National Food Buffer Stock Company has failed in its mandate, because it is the responsibility of the National Food Buffer Stock Company to buy food and stock them during bumper season, and then release them when there's emergency or when there's shortage.
But you know the situation with the buffer stock company, that it's not always possible to do this as we would want it done. There are mitigating factors.
Such as what? Because I'm a farmer, I deal with several groups of farmers. I cannot talk with any authority. The National Food Buffer Stock Company bought one single bag of meat during the bumper season. There are warehouses that were built by the government as part of the one district one we have. All those warehouses, yeah, empty. National Food Buffer Stock Company didn't buy anything. So if you think that, okay, they cannot perform this role, should we start thinking about getting an alternative? Otherwise, we are investing taxpayers' money in paying their staff salary, giving them operational money.
What would that alternative be?
Fine, me, I'm a farmer. We have a number of our groups who are there. So usually, if you look at the other companies that we supply produce to, they engage us. We are able to aggregate this, bring them, and then sell to those companies. Okay, we do that. So if I was given a mandate, giving supply food to National Food Buffer Stock Company, the time farmers have, I should be able to do that. So if you sit down, you don't do anything, a businessman is to go and buy produce and then keep them and then sell them at this time, you cannot blame that businessman. In the first place, we need to understand that the money, it's not the same value today, especially in Ghana where our city keeps increasing. So if somebody spends 200 things to buy meat during the bumper season, you shouldn't expect that person to sell the things for 100.
Right.
Okay. So we need to consider, yes.
Finally, Dr. Nyaba, now we've had the Agric Minister finally, concede that prices are skyrocketing. But like we've heard the CEO of the buffer stock company say, it's because there's this artificial hike in prices and artificial or hoarding that is going on. Are you saying for you don't see that is not reality? Hoarding is not happening, and in some cases, people are not artificially hiking their prices just to make an abnormal profit. Is that what you're saying?
It's demand and supply. If you did a basic economic theory, when the demand is higher than supply, prices will automatically go high. It is not an individual, a middleman or a farmer who is hiking the price. Because if you hike your price and nobody buys, the price will automatically come down to equilibrium point. The point that there are a lot of farmers who have made at the moment, and they are not able to sell. They are not ready to reduce the price drastically, because when they sell, they take their money. They will not be able to produce. And that's why I'm saying that these are usual things that are happening every year. It's The farmers do not sell this during the bumper harvest. They always source and they sell them during the produce. There are middlemen who also see the opportunity, buy and stock them and sell them at a later hour. It's a business for them. Now, and it is not only agriculture sector. We see people buying land, keep them when the flow of the land appreciates, they sell it. Even today, people are buying fuel and buying it and waiting to sell it later. Okay? So in the case of agriculture, my problem is that the National Food Buffer Stock failed to play the role of stabilizing prices. Because if National Food Stock bought food and stock, and then this time they release it at a certain price, it's possible the market will have responded to their price. So if they fail to do that, it will be wrong for them to accuse others who are playing their role for them.
Dr. Nyaba, we are very grateful that you joined the conversation. Dr. Nyaba, President of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, sharing his thoughts there. Let's now bring in Edward Karewe, who joins us on phone. He is General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. Mr. Karewe, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
What is your take? I know you followed this conversation. Briefly, in terms of whether there's an artificial shortage that is being created when it comes to the main farm produce that we use. The CEO of the Buffer Stock Company says it's just artificial. It's because people are hoarding, hiking prices as a result.
Well, why should it be artificial? Is it today that we are now talking about lack of food in our system? We knew about this last year, that prices were up and there was this complaint. So if this year it continues and it is aggravated, why should we think that it is artificial? And then is it not also the case
is it not possible that it could be artificial? Because I've heard a number of people say that look, because of global food prices and this and that, people are also, randomly, unilaterally increasing their food prices. And once you have a market where everybody goes along, I mean, you have to buy it, you have to eat.
But the point is that no one is doing anything wrong. It's within the business, ethics to increase prices as and when. And government, so no one should be talking about there's artificial here or there. The point is that these are, and I'm so much surprised about the statement coming from the CEO of the
Buffer Stock
Company, blaming middle men for artificially creating this thing. Meanwhile, his company is also one of the middle men companies. Because the objective of the company is to mop up foodstuff when it is cheap and release it into the market when the prices go up. That's the work of the middleman. And that is a company. It can be an individual or a company. And his company is to do that. Then his company fails to do what they are supposed to do. And he has said it all, that they don't have the money to buy the foodstuffs in huge quantities and stock it against the lean season. That is his problem. Does he expect someone to go and take a loan, come and buy the food at the harvesting time, and will not store it and sell it when the prices go up? This is normal behavior. The other question you ask is that, is it only this year that we now have middlemen carrying activities? This thing has been there. And that is the essence of business. You are part of the value chain, distribution, production, distribution. Who take the food to the consumer? It's the middleman. So it's not only this year. It has been there even before we were born, and it is there. Why is that this year it has become so acute like that? It is easy to point fingers at somebody else instead of looking at where they themselves have failed. So the Buffer Stock Company is not living up to its objective. The individuals there may not be able to deal with it because they don't have the money. If he sits there and he doesn't have the money to say it, because he doesn't have the money to go and buy the food, certainly he can't achieve. his objective. So they should not blame anybody.
So is this a failure? Is this a failure of our buffer stock? Our posturing as a country when it comes to stocking these farm products or these foodstuffs, so that we don't get to this point? Is it a failure of the person who is saying that the system is hiking prices, creating an artificial shortage? That is the CEO of the buffer stock company. Are they to blame?
It may not be. He may not be blamed personally, because I can just imagine if any of us, you, myself, or any other person is given that position, and they don't give you the resources, you can't do anything about that. No matter how laudable your ideas are, you cannot do anything because it involves money, and they will not give him the money. He has said it all, And I'm saying that it is beyond him that an economic condition has been created where people will take advantage of. The thing is that if the Planting for Food and Jobs program has been successful, we will not be in what we are today, because its objective is to produce food. And the second objective is to create jobs for both domestic and then domestic consumption and industrial use.
All right. Just to wrap with your thoughts in just about 40 seconds. We've heard from the Speaker of Parliament, the bit about the school feeding program. This is food, so I'm just bringing it into the conversation. Where we use 97 pesos to cater for the feeding of our young ones and at the basic level. And the caterers have called for 3 cedis. The Speaker has thrown the support behind them. Looking at the general cost of foodstuffs and all of that, is that a call you support?
I think the 3 cedis that they are asking for, they should be given. And we are also in contact with some.
Even in our economic context?
Economic?
Context.
Yeah, the economic context is where you want to put your money in. I mean, we all know in economics that no particular state that you have all the resources. Right. So you have to prioritize. So the economic situation will never be such a way that in future government will not have the problem of money. It is where they want to put the money. So if you have to feed our children, and I'm telling you that if you hear from head teachers, headmasters in those schools, and if you see the type of food that is fed to these young ones, in fact, you will weep. And it's because the price is too low. So it is government must find the money and give it to them, because we are using money somewhere else. And for some of us, we are not broke. It's only about where we want to put our money. And this is priorities. So what are they going to do? If they prioritize that place, of course, they will have the money. If they don't prioritize it, if it is 50 pesos, government will not have the money.
Thank you so much, Mr. Karewe, General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. We're grateful for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Let's get on to the last leg of our conversation, at least as of in respect of what we are discussing now. It has to do with COVID-19 expenditure, what we saw the finance minister deliver in Parliament, 18 billion cedis that we've got in our kitty, and what has exactly been spent. We've heard the Speaker of Parliament designates the Finance and Health Committees to come together and probe further. Joining the conversation, we will have Same Obeng, who joins the conversation. He is with the Parliamentary Network Africa. Thank you for joining the conversation, sir.
For having me.
Right. So in respect of what we've seen in Parliament, let's start with whether this was even necessary. I've asked this question to a number of people. Was it even necessary for the finance minister to come and, go through these figures again in Parliament?
I'm not too sure what you meant by again.
Well, you know that he has made mention of the fact that, there's been a breakdown when it comes to, at least some breakdown when it comes to COVID-19 spending. This is not the first time. We've seen it in budgeting and all of that. But there was this call that he should come and give a breakdown. And now, even after the majority felt that he had, catered for all the angles, we also have to have this joint committee work. That's the angle I'm coming from.
Yes, the reason I asked about the again is to make the point that the institution of Parliament and parliamentarians are elected primarily to perform 3 functions: to represent us as citizens, to oversee the executive branch, and to make laws. Within the representative and oversight functions that they play, this exercise, in my opinion, is extremely important. In very challenging times, COVID hit, we're not prepared for it. Nobody was prepared for it. Emergency measures were taken, emergency funding were released. The country had to put itself in a shape where it could mobilize resources and spend because we're in dire times. Desperate times called for desperate measures. It is only appropriate that the people's representatives are, accounted to, so that in essence, it will be accounting to the people on what these desperate times that call for desperate measures had actually resulted in. And so for me, I did not see it as anything wrong. In fact, it remains within the rights of Parliament to have called the Minister for Finance to come and provide a statement on the floor of Parliament on how COVID funding was spent. And parliaments the world over will do similar things.
Were you impressed by what Ken Ofori-Atta, Finance Minister, gave us by way of information? There were some loopholes that were pointed to by the minority side, including, importantly, the COVID-19 Trust Fund and the point that there had been no accountability for how much we had raised from there.
I looked at the finance minister's presentation from a parliamentary practice and procedures perspective mainly. Of course, the accounting of it definitely would not be my area of strength. But obviously, I know that the finance minister and the finance ministry had to take some time to be able to put some of these bits and figures together. I can imagine the kind of hard work that had gone into putting it together to come and make a presentation to Parliament, because of course, Parliament needed to hear these things. My general overview is that, these were the broader areas, broader figures that were presented to Parliament. Obviously, Finance Minister couldn't have drilled into the nitty-gritties, the fine details. And for me, that is why I find the Speaker's referral to the appropriate committee.
Right, I was just about to get to that. So you find it apt?
Well, I find it relevant for the purposes of considering this. Why do I say this? Some have argued that there is an Auditor General who audits the accounts of the state and presents a report to Parliament. That is correct. In fact, the Auditor General is an officer, the head of the Supreme Audit Institution, is an officer of the national legislator. So the Auditor General is an officer of Parliament. He performs that particular function because as part of the power of the purse function that Parliament performs, they approve the money, you go out, you spend, you account for it, it is audited, a report is sent to Parliament, and Parliament probes the report and takes the appropriate measures that needed to be taken. So yes, that route exists. But of course, you don't talk about that kind of route when we are in a country where Auditor General's reports for particular years gets discussed in Parliament or at the parliamentary committee assigned for it several years after the spending has been done. COVID-19 was a special case. Special decisions were taken, and I do not see any reason why anybody should be fighting against special measures to ensure accountability.
All right, just to wrap the conversation briefly, let's focus a bit on NPP elections, Samuel Bing. The NPP has cleared some 48 people to vie. I mean, since we're still talking about the politics of things, to vie for different positions on the national platform. 3 people were disqualified, and they are supposed to meet Peter Menu, who is leading that committee, to find out why exactly they were disqualified. I want your quick thinking on that, and also maybe you could feed into what former President Kufuor has been saying, that, look, I've not endorsed any aspirant yet. There's been information floating that he has endorsed one of the candidates. I don't want to get into the naming. But what is your quick take on these two, maybe in about a minute?
Well, of course, for every process that requires that decisions get taken on people, the right of appeal of the people who have decisions taken on them is very, very relevant. And so given an opportunity for people who have been disqualified to, appeal and to meet the rights authorities to have a conversation within the ambit of the rules and constitution governing their party is important. Of course, we have always known in this country also on the second question that big wigs endorsing candidates, definitely has an impact on the election fortunes of those candidates. We know that people of the caliber of President Kufuor have been in the game for a very long time, and they know the impact of these things. And so they definitely would speak when, in their opinion, they feel that information being thrown out there is not accurate. You cannot fault them for that.
But I know I put you on a time leash, but just indulge me a bit further. Would there be anything wrong with it if, looking at his position as a statesman, former president of the land, respected as he is, if he said, I am backing this person? Would it be wrong? And
No.
how do you feel that would impact the fortunes of the party going into election 2024, positively or negatively?
Well, I would not see that to be wrong. Of course, I will not pretend to be deep-necked into the dynamics of political party internal elections. And so maybe I may not understand things the way that members who are deep-necked will understand it. But for me, I feel that we are in the time in our country's socio-political governance history where one cannot sit on the fence. If you've got an opinion, if you've got a view on a particular matter, you put it out there. If you have a preference and you think somebody can do better than another person based on cogent reasoning, and you are in the person of the caliber of President Kufuor, who have toiled for 8 years to lead this country and therefore would not want to see the country go down the drain because of bad leadership, I don't see that people like this will keep quiet and not have an opinion on a matter. But definitely these decisions or remarks definitely would have an impact on the fortunes of an election. I mean, many people revere former President Kufuor, and the things that he says or does not say definitely has a way of impacting what people do or do not do.
Samuel Beng, thank you so much for joining the conversation. He is with Parliamentary Network Africa. Let me now bring in Dr. Osai Kwapong, who is a CDD fellow. Dr. Kwapong, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you too.
Great. Let's start with your reflection on the entire process just a few days ago as we hauled, basically, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta into Parliament to answer crucial questions that the minority had been, making a lot of point on, and it had to do with accountability when it comes to COVID-19 spending. What do you make of that exercise as you saw it?
So I agree with the sentiments expressed by Sami in terms of, if you think of the role of Parliament in our governance setup, there's the representation piece, there's the lawmaking piece, and then there's the oversight and accountability piece. And so for me, Parliament was exercising its right within the realm of the oversight and accountability piece. You do have a situation, a very unique situation in which something that no one anticipated happened on a global, worldwide scale. It impacted Ghana. Government took measures to try and ward off some of the effects of COVID-19. It made some interventions into the economy to ensure that we insulated ourselves as much as we could against the ravaging effects of COVID-19. 2 years later, and I know that the minister has in budget statements made references to how much the government has spent on COVID-19 measures. But I think it is within the right of Parliament as an oversight body of the executive to also ask any further questions that they seek for clarification purposes. And so for me, I think it was an important request of the finance minister. And I think it was also very important that eventually the finance minister did another invitation to make that presentation before Parliament.
Now, to the nitty-gritty of what he told us, yes, he told us about the 18 plus billion and how the allocations had been made, what had been spent on PPE, feeding, and all of that. Did we get the accountability we expected?
I mean, I think from his point of view, and based on whatever information they have at the ministry, he came to Parliament and he shared all of that. You know, he gave the details of the breakdown as to whether Parliament is satisfied or not. From the indication that I got from the Speaker, it appears that that was not 100% enough. If you think about the referral to the subcommittee to further look into the presentation of the finance minister, I think that these things, you know, when these demands of accountability are very appropriate in the governance setup, and I think that it was very important for the finance minister to show up. I think it was very important that he shared the details, and I think if there are further details that could be shared to clarify any unanswered further questions that Parliament and its subcommittees have, I think it's
so in other words, the Finance Com Health Committee that has been set up by the Speaker has your tacit support.
Yes, and again, in any oversight setup, right? That if the institution charged with doing the oversight work still has unanswered questions, then I think it is very appropriate that further questions are asked. And therefore, yes, I do support the idea of further probing by the subcommittee just to make sure that all questions are answered to the satisfaction of the institution of Parliament.
Now, I mean, the committee is going to do its work, but, and this is a question I have posed as well to those in recent days. When it comes to the international community, the entire exercise, I remember speaking to Kweku Kwarteng, the chairman of the Finance Committee, and he said, look, I feel it was unnecessary on some scores, but yeah, we've had the finance minister come and do it anyway. But going further, I mean, what are they going to find out? The Auditor General's department is there to probe these matters. Is that step further even necessary? And when it comes to the international community, they already have the facts and the figures. Is this going to change anything with them, do you think?
Well, I mean, as to whether it would change the facts, I think, we are yet to see that. But in terms of whether other bodies would be able to look into, so for example, you make reference to the Auditor General. Yes, the Auditor General can also do an audit, a special audit of COVID-19 funds, right? But as Sami said, sometimes the Auditor General's reports don't even get debated and looked at in Parliament, even at the committee level, sometimes a year, 2 years after. So for me, whichever angle or whichever route we take, that if ultimately the issue is about ensuring that whatever public funds were spent in the name of insulating us against COVID, that if there remains unanswered questions, then that's the right thing to do. But like you said, if upon further probing and further investigation, the committee finds that, yes, the facts are really the same, then that's great. It just confirms that the finance minister made a presentation and, all the facts are still the same. If in their investigation or further deliberations, they find out that there are still unanswered questions, they can always bring the finance minister back. Because again, for me, all of these things goes to the heart of ensuring that the principle of good governance, transparency, accountability is always adhered to, and that everybody has a role to play in ensuring this notion of good governance that we continuously speak about.
Just to wrap, I know you're usually concerned about this area, COVID-19. I just want to take a swipe at that. When you look at the uptick in our numbers, I mean, it's been surprising in just a few days where we find ourselves, and a few people losing their lives, unfortunately. And I don't know whether you've heard, but pillion riders supposedly are also refusing to crash helmets when they, bought Okada because they feel they could contract COVID-19 from the helmets. I don't know, maybe what your quick reactions could be to this, and how maybe as a CDD fellow you've been looking forward to seeing us resolve the matter when it comes to the numbers.
There's an element of personal choice in this whole COVID thing, right? I wear my mask religiously. I ride public transport to work, so on the train, I wear my mask. Even when I'm in the office, when I'm alone in my office, I take off my mask. But when I have to come out into the general office area, if I'm in a meeting with anyone, I make sure that I'm always in a mask. I think there's so much one can do to keep reinforcing the message of some of the basic things that if we did would help ensure that this COVID and its the increases in the cases that we see every so often in these waves go away. I think we can't stop with the public education, but at the end of the day, I think individuals must also become more responsive to the public education, and accept that even with some of these little inconveniences, ultimately one's health and the protection of one's health and our obligation to protect the health of others is very important, that we follow as much as we can all the basic protocols of COVID.
Always refreshing having you connect, and do continue to stay safe, Dr. Osai Kwapong, the CDD fellow. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. Take care.
Okay, we'll be zooming into our next conversation. I'll tell you a bit about that shortly, but we all know water is life. It regulates your body temperature, keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. Now, we have the perfect sizes for every occasion, 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, and 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, but 1.5 liters as well for those who always want more. Now, we have introduced our special 19-liter jars for offices and homes. So wherever you are, you just need to stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So come on, grab that bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center, and that is truly heartwarming. It's produced by Casapreco. For bulk purchases, just call this number, 0262 351 251. And just so you know, VAT returns are due for submission on the last working day of every month. Failure to submit returns attracts a penalty. Just know that. Now, rent to own is a 2, 3, or 4 bedroom house or a beachfront villa in the New Accra City program. Cities and Habitats rent to own at a price you can afford and at a pace you can pay. All you need to do, visit www.newaccra.city. That is NEW-Accra.city. Or for more details, call or WhatsApp 0555 530 300, 0577 911 101, or 0557 054 635. The Planned Cities Extension Project, shaping Ghana's urban future. But here's something that we can also use to shape our future. We have a conversation coming up. It has to do with the Public Enterprises League table. We've had conversations here with the sector minister on state-owned enterprises and the rest. Well, that very interesting conversation comes up next. Joseph Kujo is Minister for Public Enterprises State.
Hello, thank you so much for staying on the AM show. So the Ministry of State Enterprises is now on the heels of public enterprises because of issues of productivity. So they've decided to create PELT. It is the Public Enterprises League table, and it's an innovation to assess and evaluate the performance of state enterprises. We are told that this will kickstart on the 1st of July 2022. We want to know more about it, why it's important, and whether or not it will not turn out to be one of those other initiatives and interventions that we've seen over the years. I've been joined by Joseph Kujo, who is Minister for Public Enterprises. He's on my far left. And on my immediate left, we have another Joseph, but this time Sapong, not Kujo. And he is with the PELT Technical Committee and a member of SIGA. Thank you so much for joining us. So we all admit that clearly there's a problem with productivity. And it's been a conversation we've been having for the past few weeks, especially because of what the government statistician said about productivity and the misrepresentation. But we all agree that there are concerns about productivity, especially from the public sector angle. Tell us more about this league table and what you hope it will achieve.
Okay. Thank you, and good morning to your viewers. The league table, just like what we have always known about soccer league tables, we know it's a tool to engender competition among competing soccer teams. End result is that at the end of the day, you see one soccer team emerging as the tops, and the next up to one that is last. It communicates information on performance, that the one on the top did well than the one at the bottom. So it is the same concept. And when it comes to even classroom work, that students in the same class are ranked in terms of the scores they get in examinations or some assignment. You also see that this has been a traditional tool over the years in education to engender performance through competition among the students in the class. So you see the one coming first, seen as performing and learning, and the one coming last, seeing that needs effort to also do better next time. So the same concept has been brought in here to deal with the characterization of non-performance, non-profitability, inefficiencies, and indebtedness among the public enterprises. But the ministry is Ministry for Public Enterprises. Let me effect that.
Yeah, Ministry of
Public Enterprises.
Yeah.
So over the years, we call it a 65-year-old problem. That is how I describe it. Since independence, public enterprises have been characterized with all these attributes that are not expected of corporate and institutional performances. So today, under the management of the president, I will use management because he keeps an eye in that space, making sure that the 65-year history is giving attention to and different results exacted from the public enterprises. And so for the first time, you see him appointing Minister for Public Enterprises and then establishing SIGA, State Interest and Governance Authority, to oversight the public enterprise space to ensure that they are performing to expectation. So the PELT comes in as one of the tools I'm deploying as a minister to engender competition among them in terms of performance. And it is based on performance contract design. That is the evaluation, the information that is evaluated. Over the years, the entities have been signing performance contracts with SIGA.
Okay.
And even earlier with State Enterprises Commission. But they sign, whether they perform or not, nobody is really engendering competition from among the
So if I get you, this is more about competition and not necessarily accountability.
You know, every aspect you think of management, accountability, when you look at it, Joe will speak about the technical dimensions, and you see that performance contract itself, element of it, accountability is embedded. in the financial reporting, which they have to meet under the Public Financial Management Act and SIGA Act. So accountability is embedded. So when we say you are a top entity, there are dimensions of that coming to the top. That it means that your reporting is good. Your targets set in the attainment of the target set in the performance contract is also good, and so on. So it is not only one dimension.
Okay.
It's several dimensions that gives the ranking.
I'll be coming to you, Mr. Sapong, now. Let's talk about the technicalities. Sure. So what exactly goes into this league table? What factors are you looking for? He created an interesting example with football. So with football, we see matches played, how many you have left, goals scored, goals against, and we see all those indicators, you know, culminating in the final results, which determines where you are on the league table. So what are the markers, the indicators that will go into awarding the final marks on this league table?
All right, thank you very much, and good mornings to your cherished viewers. The Performance Public Enterprise League Table is a ranking scheme that seeks to build on the foundation of the performance contract signed between SIGA and the specified entities. And this performance contract has three main performance dimensions for which the performance of the state-owned enterprises are measured. So we have the profitability, which seeks to look at the economic and the financial side. We have management improvement stroke project, which looks at governance, their implementation of projects, and general management practices. And that side focuses on compliance to, for instance, financial reporting, to statutory reportings. Then there's also what we call the dynamic effect, or innovation, which seeks to look at the activities the entity do within a current year, of which we expect results later, like investment in R&D, training of staff, taking care of their fixed assets. So the various dimensions as we have, that's the three main dimensions for the SOEs, are measured with various indicators under each dimensions. Okay, then the Health Award seeks to build on this foundation, and what we are doing is that we are indexing this performance. So when you take the various entities, because they are within various segments of the market and also various sectors, once you are able to index their performance based on the dimensions, you are then able to rank them as to the overall performance of each of the entities. And one purpose of doing that is also to be able to benchmark the performance of our SOEs and the other state entities to that of the private sector, and also with their peers around our West African region and even worldwide. So the whole effort is to assess their performance. And as Minister said, previously we were doing the performance contracts, we were evaluating. But because there wasn't any medium for which we were going to demonstrate the good work that they are doing, it is more of an individual report issued to the board and management, making recommendation to them. Now we are bringing the whole lens of accountability and transparency onto the SOEs by introducing this award scheme. So post-evaluation, we are ranking, we are telling the public the performance of these entities, and through that we expect the public to also help us to improve by giving pressure, because you and I know that the CEOs and the managers of these entities are our family members, our brothers and our sisters. So imagine your friend is working within an entity that came last. Obviously, we don't want to find out what is happening. So the whole exercise is to evaluate performance continuously and also put the lens of accountability on these entities. And I must say that the performance contract that we are signing with these entities is a way for the entities to account to the people of Ghana through the authority established to do so. And that is the focus, and for the framework that has been built, I think is a good thing, and we are going to achieve results.
So the league table is one thing and the award is another. Someone will say, why do you even need to award? I mean, it's enough to advertise the league table and like you've just said, just based on goodwill and based on perception, people will be able to appreciate your good work. So why do we want to create an awards in addition? Minister, would you want to answer that?
It's good you understood the soccer club analogy. Why do we give cap to the winner in a tournament? Why do we do that? You give a symbol that will be displayed on the table of the winner, that as people troop to the soccer club's showroom, they see that over the years, the soccer club has been performing. Why do we give this, what do we call it, medals that we hang in the neck of the soccer players or athletes who come top? So awards as part of competition naturally.
But these are public workers. It's like saying that. So yesterday on the show we had a question on our Facebook page, and we asked people to rank the performance of the president on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, it's like saying that you have been employed to do a job, and you've done the job. Why should I award you for doing your job?
I love this kind of argument. So, Joy, here, if the management and board decide to say best worker, we should give the best worker something to hang or a plaque to put in his house that would demonstrate and remind him to keep working. It's bad because we paid you to do what you are doing. No, award has always been part of competition. That's the one that comes first. In this case, don't think of a financial award. I'm sorry, it is not. It is just a plaque. How I wish maybe next time you go, you show the plaque.
And there's no, as it is in this country, there's no ceremony or the pomp and pageantry. Before we realize we spent another God knows how many cities on a function to award public sector workers.
Very good. That's a necessary expenditure. A very necessary expenditure. Don't forget we incur costs to exact outcomes. The reason why we incur costs is to exact certain outcomes. And what you have to do is to compare what the outcome is relative to the cost. I'll give you an example. This plaque, when given to a CEO, and the fellow didn't get a plaque, okay, the true cost for this whole thing is hiring a venue and then giving people plaque. That's it. But the outcome, you see next year, next 2 years, next 3 years, and there's those that has even given us an opportunity to be talking about this in this space. So the benefit we're going to get far outweighs the cost aspect of this. That's why I'm saying it is not financial reward. You're not going to give anybody a car. Even what do we call it? Models like a most beautiful woman get a car, let alone somebody who has taken charge of Ghana's assets in excess of billions.
But that person is paid to do their job. The person who wins the pageant you're talking about is not paid. They go up for a pageant.
No, I'm saying award. I'm talking about. If you are paid, you will be a poor manager. Trust me. I don't know your.
I'm asking questions that are on the minds. And let me just come in. I'm asking questions that I believe are on the minds of many Ghanaians.
Yeah.
People in public service are paid to do their job, and they're expected to perform at their utmost, at the topmost, regardless of an award or not. But we are making it sound as though an award is what will propel productivity.
No. Listen to this. You have 65 years problem. You want to continue doing what has been done. Nothing new.
Okay, so that's why I was saying that. That's why I started this conversation by saying the league table, it's one thing. And the awards is another thing. We can decide, and that's why I'm only asking questions.
I understand.
So you could have decided to publish the results and say, this is for everybody to see. And I'm saying that, don't you think that will be enough than organizing a ceremony to give awards?
I am saying, let's get it clear. Let's get it clear here. I understand. Just publish and keep quiet over it. Or bring media, public space into it to observe those that did well and to observe those that didn't do well. they don't have the same effect. I'm sorry, they don't.
Okay. Let me sorry, Minister, I'll come back to you shortly, but let me come to you, Mr. Sapong. So what exactly goes, you've told us what the three major focus points are, but what exactly goes into the scoring? What would you expect? Do these state-owned enterprises or public enterprises have a database that they have to key in the information? How exactly will the whole computation be done in terms of getting the league table?
Yeah, so for the PELT ranking and awards, the foundation is a negotiated contract between SIGA and each specified entities. Bear in mind, the approach is to improve performance over the period. So we look at your 5-year performance, then we negotiate the current year's performance with you, certain targets for which you are supposed to meet. Now what happens is that we have a team of consultants and technical members who look at the submissions of the report, financial reports, report on your governance, report on your investment and all these things. They come through and they are evaluated based on the target that was set
for you.
Okay, and this target are set to improve the performance year on year on. So what happens is that once we are able to receive the information per the contract they have signed, then they are evaluated against the target they set for themselves. And then we index it to be able to rank the performance. And let me touch on the issue of the awards. Because contracts are signed, okay, we would want to exact performance from these entities. And you mentioned one aspect of the incentives to the contract. And obviously, that is the financial, where they get paid. Now, you agree with me that there are non-financial incentives for which people would want to aspire to. Yes, we have ranked the performance, we have evaluated their performance, but what we are saying is that once you have done that, we would also want to be able to showcase the good work that these entities are doing to the public. So you create a platform where you are able to show that of all the challenges that exist within the space, these are the high-flying entities and these are the performance. One thing it does is that because you have an index, when performance are improving, you realize that the overall index over the years will keep appreciating. So the performance contract, the awards are only an add-on feature to provide a non-financial incentives for the SOEs. Everybody would want to be honored by the president as having been the most productive worker or the most productive entity. Bear in mind, we are talking about entities superintending over 30% of the asset of this state. And it is the responsibility of SIGA, the responsibility of the Minister for Public Enterprise to ensure that we exact this performance. And we know we have paid them over the years, but this time, what I want to assure you and the general public is that the Minister, with the help of the SIGA team, wants to tie their performance to the contract that they have signed to ensure that now we have remuneration based on what they are bringing in.
Okay, so now what we're doing with the league table is to focus on the entire enterprise and the performance of the enterprise. But like I mentioned in my introduction, there have been concerns about the productivity of public sector workers. Is there anything in the offing with regards to individuals within the various enterprises and also ensuring that people are giving back what is paid them or given as the equivalent of what is paid them in terms of productivity?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very good point, and we are very happy to have started work in that direction. So the whole idea of the performance contract is to look at the entity itself. Now, within the contract, there's a clause to tie the organization's contract that have been signed to the performance of the individual worker, so that the incentives regimes are also tied to the performance. So within an organization like ECG, if we are looking at the performance of the ECG, we are also tying the same performance to that of the worker. Situation where ECG is unable to meet the target they have set, and SIGA, with the help of consultant, we do the evaluation. Because there's incentive regime which we are supposed to recommend payment of bonuses and other allowances, we are able to recommend for non-payment of bonuses within that particular year. And if your team can come to our end, we can show them all these things so that an individual entity that is not performing is tied to the performance of the entities.
Okay, sorry. So it means that there are people who can hide under the shadow of their colleagues who are working, right? Because if you're looking at, so like you mentioned, ECG. So collectively, ECG performed well, and so we're going to give workers bonuses. But what I'm asking is, how are you assessing to ensure that individuals working within the Electricity Company of Ghana are giving us what's worth our money?
Let me take that. You know the meaning of organization. Organization is a group of people working together to achieve an objective.
Exactly.
What you are looking at is the objective. Profitable. The investment made, have they made a required return that is comparable to what the private sector is giving to its shareholders? The state is thinking in the same direction. So once it is an organization and it is profitable and it is efficient, that characterization means the individuals there are working. It is not up to me, Minister, or SIGA, Director General, or Joe, the technical person, to go there and say individual workers. Okay? Now, management, to achieve an outcome, always has a systemic approach to achieve it. As you do micro and spend all the time on unimportant things.
Sorry, let me just say that this question was not about SIGA or your ministry, to be precise, but about the general concern about the productivity.
I'm developing the point.
Of
the general concern
workers.
of productivity. I'm saying to you that productivity here at Joy, okay, is because there's a corporate objective you are looking at to achieve. Market competitiveness. You want to be top on the market. You want to do this. You want to do this. So board of directors, with that strategic plan, devolves at the management level and supervisors level for them to oversight even people up to the one on the street, parking cars. So that arrangement of managing organization is what you look at, that the productivity of the guy parking the cars there or the frontline worker, the reception. The board chairman will not come to her, but expecting CEO to perform and CEO expecting his line of management to do their job and line of management expecting the supervisors to do their job, the customer service will be functioning. That is how to exact productivity.
So for you, because there's a correlation between the entire productivity of the organization to the individuals and their input, which leads to that, there is no clear-cut strategy on how to assess individuals within the public sector. That was the question I asked.
That's why I'm saying, if you understand management, this question will not arise.
No. I'm asking you. So here, so you use Joy as an example. Let me use it.
Very good.
So we're individuals. You are appraised.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that is what I'm asking you. So what? So there's so much. There's a lot of focus on the league table now, and I'm asking. There are concerns by people that public sector workers are not productive enough. Some are saying match their salary to their productivity. So if you give off 70%. This is the A amount you're earning. And that's why I'm asking, yes, you are the minister, you are a technical person of SIGA, but what is the existing mode of assessing public sector workers? How do we do that?
That is what I'm saying. If anybody should say to you that to assess public service workers, and when I say workers, I'm talking about from cleaners to directors, that anybody should put up any scheme that will assess them, and then the pay they get, we get the equivalent performance to the state. You cannot put in place systems.
Are they appraised? Do they do yearly appraisals?
Certainly, if you go to, I worked in Cocoa Board as investment manager. There is staff appraiser every year. That is what feeds into recommendations for promotions and so on. Do you understand? So we're saying now, the 65 years we've seen that kind of performance. Something is missing. Something is missing. That systemic oversight In fact, let me even throw in systemic oversight from even Parliamentary Select Committee, which never became the case that there was
Are
a
you
minister.
admitting that there may be an oversight even with appraisal? I'm trying to follow.
No, not appraisal at the. Wait, I don't micro.
No, I'm not talking about you directly. You're talking about a 65-year-old problem that has existed.
There are enterprises. Enterprises, several of them. Individually, they are doing what
their
they are
own
doing.
thing. Yes.
CEO, some even getting accounts from them. It's even difficult. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
You share SIGA, what they
So
are
I
doing.
think we're on the same page here.
Exactly. So I'm saying that the solution is not at this level to go and find out whether they are doing staff appraisal. The solution is to award enterprises that deploy innovation, technology, to deliver their services efficiently. And if you have technology working and your input becomes my information for me to also do my work, and mine becomes information to CEO to also do his work. If you put fire on the CEO, or you say, CEO, deploy technology, and if you do, we award you for doing that, you begin to see them getting their staff appraisal system working efficiently, because if the workers do not work effectively and productively, he will not get the desired result. Do you understand? So this whole scheme of shedding light on the public enterprise's performance and exacting this kind of discussions is useful to ensure that we get that kind of
So, Minister, what happens
results.
to underperforming enterprises? We've spoken about those who do well in their works. So what happens to underperforming?
Very good. I'm happy you brought yourself. Very excited. What happens to them? They are paid to do what they do. So I'm quoting you. Now, at the back of your mind, is a stake. What happens? Penalty. Let me invoke that word penalty. It's a stake at the back of your mind. But at the back of the mind the one who is performing shouldn't be motivated in that light. In management, you use both carrot and
So
stick.
I'm just saying that give us a practical. So you've told
I'm giving you the frame.
Yeah. So sorry, we'll have to.
So what happens to them? But let me tell you.
Yeah. So what will happen to them?
In this league table, it is not like the soccer league table where the last company goes on relegation.
Okay.
We still have investment in it, so we can't relegate it.
Yeah.
But it brings us to, as management, to it says this company needs more attention. Just like the student who comes last in class needs more attention. We call it management by exception. That the ones that are doing well, you don't spend that much time because they are doing well, they are motivated, they are driven, they are achieving the result you want. So the time available to me, then say those that became last, keep more eyes on them so that they will also perform.
What does keeping your eyes on them exactly mean?
It means if you look at the performance dimensions, that is used to rank them. Maybe on financial reporting, meeting deadlines, audited financial statements, maybe they were not reporting and they scored low on the index he talked about. Maybe targets, operational targets they set, they were not achieving them. Like if you say operational target, they are in different enterprise space. So they are not achieving them. So what is it? Is it market competitiveness? Is it tariff? You know, some of the state entities are price takers. Price takers in the sense that ECG want it to be profitable, just increase. If you increase electricity, the automatic profitability follows. But the price dynamics, is it there? Or cost management inefficiencies? They are not doing well at their cost management. Or staff outcomes. You know, ECG staff may come out there, take the money into his pocket, deploy technology, and so on. So what happens to this whole space is that you want to shed light. Those that are doing well, you say, kudos. Yours is the carrot. Those that are not doing well, yours is the stick. Is it capital injection? Is it this? Is it this? Is it penalty like firing? Do you understand? Like, is it more training? Is it capacity building? Is it so that you get to know and focus solution?
So I appreciate that you gave the example of the ECG and other price-taking entities.
Very good.
Well, obviously,
like Ghana Water.
Yes, and all those ones. So do you factor that in your assessment? Because right now we are dealing with a possible tariff adjustment. They say that give us more money so we can be efficient. Ghana Water Company Limited says, look, we are stranded. If you don't give us money, we can't give you the best. So, I mean, comparing that to other entities that do not do their kind of work and so may, and I'm saying this based on assumption, may have a better performance when it comes to profitability and all that. Do you make room for those adjustments in your assessment of these entities, seeing that there may not be a level playing field? I mean, for lack of a better expression.
Exactly, we do. So one of the things we do is that we establish what we call the assumptions for the contracts. In doing so, we want to know the price that they are willing to take and what is being issued to them based on the PRC engagement. Then when you are also looking at that side, you also would want to look at the system losses and the other losses, which normally would affect how the pricing of PURC is done. So in the case of, let's say, ECG, the allowable system loss is about 23%. Okay. What we would do is that we would want to bring them below that, so that automatically when the PURC is doing their assessment, it will then be in their favor for them to be able to improve on the pricing. So all these assumptions are taken care of when we are negotiating on the price to ensure that there's some level of fairness within the space.
Sorry, we have to wrap up. So this is starting on the 1st of July. We are kickstarting the pelts on the 1st of July. So should we expect that after
the events, the awards program? Unfortunately, we could not shift to 1st of July.
Okay.
That was desirable. We could not achieve it. 30th June is the awards night publication done. So 1st of July, everybody sees what happened.
So
the previous
okay.
Yes.
So it means that you've been assessing them for a year's period, right?
Yes. This is based on 2020 performance contract we signed.
Okay. All right. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that on the 30th of June. We will see that published and we'll see the state enterprises that are doing what they're expected to do. Thank you so much.
But I love your insightful questions to shed more light on the award.
And I
congratulate you. You deserve an award.
I appreciate that.
Even though you are paid to do what you do.
I appreciate that you can make it here this morning. Joseph Kudus, Minister for Public Enterprises. And you just heard him speak. And on my immediate left is Joseph Sapong. He is with the PELT Technical Committee and a member of SIGA. It's now time to talk about the Freedom Hills Hotel. It's a premium world-class hotel located on the Kuru Mountains with serene and breathtaking scenes, great weather and ambience that provides the necessary atmosphere for your relaxation and utmost peace of mind. I'll be coming back to tell you more about them shortly after this Tuesday. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. We're easing into the weekend. And if you're wondering where to get some good relaxation with beautiful scenery and the best service, then Freedom Hills Hotel is something to consider. Today I've been joined by Regibel Asante Jonah. She's General Manager, and Augustine Wadier, Partner and Communications Manager at Freedom Hills. Great to have you.
Great to have you.
So you drove from Kwewu this morning?
Yes.
Oh, wow. What was it like? I know around in the early morning it has a very breezy, foggy, vibe to it.
It was nice coming. Enjoy the weather as well.
Okay, sure. So tell us more about, let me start with you, Regibel. Tell us more about what Freedom Hills offers, especially where you're located, and the uniqueness it brings to your service and brand.
Okay. Good morning to all your viewers and everyone watching us today and this morning. First of all, I would like to say good morning to my CEO, Mr. Godfred Yeboah Wadier, and to the family. In Kosohene of Kwewu Nana Oredu Wadier, to Openi Kwame Wadie and everybody watching us. So Freedom Hills Hotel is located in Kwo, and we are at Nkwetia, where you find Freedom Hills Hotel. Freedom Hills Hotel is a place where we want to accommodate your peace of mind. Whenever you want to feel, you want to go for a vacation, you want to be outside Accra, away from the environment we find ourselves each other. Freedom Hills Hotel is always available and ready to accommodate you.
So tell me, what am I likely to experience beyond the hotel? Let me come to you. What am I likely to experience in the entire Kwewu enclave that Freedom Hills Hotel can help me achieve in terms of relaxation?
Okay, so what we do is we try to cater to our clients personally. So it's not like we have set operational guidelines going on. If you come and you want something specific, we try and meet that. So if it's a tailored tour package for you,
okay,
what works for you,
okay,
we arrange that.
But you can run me through the kind of places I can visit when I come to Kwewu.
Oh yes,
lots of places to visit.
Yes. So just last weekend we hit the Afan Plains, and 30 minutes we are at Akosombo.
Okay.
So it's just easy. We have our caves. I don't know if you heard about the Buklua caves, the stones. It's the caves are what we boast
usually
of.
promote.
It's scary but awesome. So, I don't know if you are somehow adventurous, you like your peace of mind, and do stuff, let's say, that will stay and keep you coming back to Kwewu, then you come to Freedom Hills.
Freedom Hills Hotel. What are your price packages like? Because nowadays people are like, hey, you know, people have been complaining things are difficult, but we also need to relax and rest the body, and that's why places like your outfit are there. So, what would you like to tell clients who are thinking about how much they may have to, you know, part ways with if they want to come to your place?
Okay, so if you want to have a few at Freedom Hills Hotel, for now, I think you have to call us because our packages are a lot.
Okay.
We have the family package, the weekend package, the corporate package. Our room rates and everything are very affordable. So I think if somebody wants to enjoy Freedom Hills Hotel, it's all about you going on our website and then calling us to find out more about us.
Can you share your web address with us?
Yes, it's www.freedomhillshotel.com. And then on social media, it's all about Freedom Hills Hotel. Just type Freedom Hills Hotel, and then you find us everywhere.
So you were one of the sponsors of the Hits FM I Love You Dad promotion. Tell us why you decided to be part of it.
Okay, so this year we decided to be part of the Hits FM Father's Day promotion because we wanted to give people the environment to celebrate their fathers. We wanted to give people the chance to go outside Accra or outside their everyday environment to celebrate fathers. There are fathers who are heroes, fathers that need to be celebrated. So we just wanted people to have a feel of the green environment so that they can celebrate their fathers.
Interesting. It's quite a huge hotel I see there.
Yeah.
What facilities do you have?
Okay, so we currently have 2 conference rooms ready, operational, our pool area and the sky bar operational. And what we have going on now is construction of a basketball court, tennis court,
nice,
and a world-class studio. So we can get recording artists come in there and do some work. Yes, so we also have a gym being set up and a spa. So
a unisex salon as well.
So this is like a one-stop place.
We're trying to take Accra to Kwewu.
Interesting. I'm told you have some discounts.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Okay, so we started discounts last week, 17th of June. And because this is the first time on TV, we want to extend it to the 10th of July for our viewers who are now listening for the first time. So it's a Father's Day promotion and a treat. 15% discounts on all room rates. That is, if you come and you want the discounts, you take only bed and the breakfast. But without the discounts, we are giving for you bed, breakfast, lunch, supper, and some snacks. and it depends on the number of days you are staying. So if you are staying for Friday to Sunday, check out Monday, you have a discount with the lunch and a snack. But if you don't want the discounts and you are checking out Monday morning, we're giving you breakfast, bed, snack, and supper.
Wow. And you're saying it's an extension of the Father's Day from you. So if I come and I'm not with my father,
we can still do it. All you need to do is just tell us when you call and you say, okay, so I watched on TV and I want to be part of the promotion.
Okay.
Just give us the code Father's Day promotion and then you are good to go.
Thank you so much for passing through.
Thank
and
you so much.
We hope that people will just take some time off and get some good rest even as we ease into the weekend. And thank you for partnering our sister station Hits FM to celebrate Dad's Day. So kindly share your contact details. You've shared your website, but other contact details for further enquiries and other engagements.
Okay, so the numbers to reach us on is 059 5975848. And then on social media, it's Freedom Hills Hotel.
Thank you so much. Reggie Bell,
yes,
Asante Jonah,
yes,
and Augustine Wadia. Thank you. I heard a lot of Wadia.
It is a family.
It's a family thing, so I'm not surprised you're a partner. Well, thank you for passing through. Right now on the show, though, we will be taking your comments on some of our major stories that we've been discussing throughout the day. And if you want, the week, do stay for that. Benjamin will join me shortly. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. It's now time to hear your thoughts. Do call us on 030-2211-691 extension 2. Guess who is here? Benjamin. He's here. You look refreshed from that, you know, blunt.
Why are you going to?
Blunt. I want to be as mischievous as you, but unfortunately, it's not in my DNA.
For a moment, I thought you were going to reference something else. You can reference that
one. It's not in my DNA, but that was a good one on our problem with flooding in the country. And then you went on to have a series of conversations. The interesting one about the pillion riders, and
I found that so. But it's a reality. If you've ever used the Okada or any of those services,
can you imagine
before,
the helmet,
everybody, and they don't, sanitize properly, they don't clean after a while, it becomes
very sweaty,
filthy, basically, smelly and all of that. So you would understand why people would have an aversion to it, but at the same time, it's the law, and you disobey this at your own risk. I've seen something before at a bit of an experiment. Yeah, they used a watermelon, which is what you're...
Yes.
I don't know whether you've ever witnessed that.
I've seen that, and they fix the helmet on it, and they simulate an accident involving a motorcycle without someone wearing a helmet. Well, Bafo is joining us from Sunyani. Hello, Bafo. Let's hear you quickly. Good morning.
Hi, morning. Please, my take will be on the agric issues about agric.
Okay.
Okay, so we are here talking about price hikes in foodstuffs. Also, products being exported or smuggled outside the country. NAPCO workers not being paid. So now I want to know what happened to the irrigation system that was promised by the government, one village, one dam. That will ensure that we cultivate products throughout the whole year to avoid all these things. Also, what happened to the planting for food and jobs? Yes, I overheard the minister saying that, I think he's not saying that he sort of awarded 100% to himself in the face of all these issues that we are having. We have a problem as a country.
Thank you so much, Bafo, for sharing your thoughts. Abendao joins us from Kumasi. Hello, Abendao. Let's make it snappy so others can share their thoughts too.
Yeah, good morning to you and Akako and your viewers. Anyway, I'm not able to follow your programs this morning. I just joined around 9:30, but at least some from my mama Juma. They be a mobile Juma come and some from the Boma. No, pardon me, from my Boma, Juma. Thank you.
Thank you, Abendao.
It's interesting today. Abendao.
Yeah, he calls us.
But he's admitted he didn't follow up to.
But thank you for calling us anyway.
We're
we
grateful
appreciate
you called.
the pat in the back. So, I had that conversation on the Public Enterprises League table.
Yeah.
And the award ceremony. And it was just...
okay, so you want to rank them, which is a good thing. I mean, we have that with the
assemblies, local assemblies.
Local assemblies. We even do that for ministers sometimes. There are entities that. So ranking them fine, but this awards
ceremony. I asked the minister that question, and his response was an interesting one. he says you'll be a very bad manager, and I'm like,
really?
Okay, because I'm asking questions. But anyway, let's move on.
But that would have been a good opportunity for him to sell, because I am looking at it and wondering, our state-owned enterprises are already bleeding. We are incurring huge losses. So that's not an area, our public enterprises, where you would want to go and spend even more in terms of awarding, or maybe the rationale is...
He says we incur costs too. So he's trying to see the...
Is this to incentivize them? Then?
Yes, that's what we are being told. So, well, Musa from Wale Wale, let's hear you. Good morning.
Saying that my take will be on the agri sector. You see, we knew everything was going on well. We have to avoid this thing out of politics and then unite to see how best we can work on this agri product. One, in the northern region here, you see people from other neighboring countries coming to take our food, buying our foodstuffs, selling them there, and the government is not saying anything. So definitely, these soya beans, maize, beans are being transported to Burkina and other places. Definitely there will be shortage. The country is growing. So my advice is that the government will have to put in some measures to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Let's head to Wager. Samuel joins us. Good morning. Let's hear you, please.
Good morning. Yeah. My issue has to do with the drainage system. Yeah. From Bachano through broadcasting, they are constructing a new drainage. And, it's very small. So I don't know how much water that drainage can contain. And it is for the main road, they are constructing it at the main road. So if the authorities can't hear me and then do something about it, I think it will help.
Samuel, have you tried visiting... hello, sorry to interrupt you, Samuel, but have you tried raising these concerns with your local assembly? Have you tried to find answers?
No, I tried once, but I didn't get the attention. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you for calling us. We'll have to move on to the next caller. Thomas Yao, Ofosihene from Ofosihene, yes, from Insecurity. Thank you for joining. Let's hear you.
Mandia, good morning.
Thomas, please, let's hear you.
Good morning, my dear sister.
We can hear you. Good morning. Please let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm coming to agri sector. Yeah, agri sector, the minister came last to say something. Hello?
We can hear you, please. Thomas, please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to tell the agri minister that you have to go to Akontomba and others. All the cocoa tree has been what? Spoiled. There's no cocoa tree over there. You have to beg him to employ workers, farmers workers, and so, and the cocoa to grow in the area.
Thomas, sorry to interrupt. Are you saying that there are no cocoa trees? Is it that the farmers are farming something else? What exactly is the problem?
Yeah, there's no cocoa tree over there.
Okay. Thank you.
And what is the cause? What is creating this?
While you went there, there's no cocoa tree.
All right, Thomas, we will follow up on this. Thank you so much for giving us the hint. Let's pick our last caller from Takrade. Yeah, Lawson is joining us from Takrade. Let's hear you, please.
Yes, good morning. I'm Lawson. I'm calling from Takrade.
My say is on the nature of our roads, especially in this rainy season. You see, that was, I think, 2 days ago when it rained. There's this road, the road from Takrady to Apowai. That's St. Mary's, in front of St. Mary's Senior High.
Yes.
That place, almost any time that it rains heavy, okay, over the years we've been experiencing the flood there, and you know it's a main road. It's such a disgrace to see the condition of our road in such a state when it rains. And our leaders keep seeing this, and I don't know what they are doing about it. I quite remember some time back the road minister was saying when it comes to road development or whatever, they are far ahead. So if you are complaining, you are behind. I don't know what they are doing about it. So if our leaders are listening, please, the children pass there. School buses pass there. So when it rains like this, it becomes a problem for parents to even have access to their children.
Thank you so much, Lawson. And we covered that flood in that specific area in front of the St. Mary's School. It was quite a scene. I mean,
you know the floods nowadays. I don't know whether it's the climate change or whether with population explosions and the right measures not being adopted, it's getting worse. But recently in Takrady, what we saw, I mean, that was something. I don't know whether you saw the footage of that farmer whose poultry farm was overtaken by...
I actually saw cars overturned. I'm yet to see that one about the farmer. I'll go look out for it. But thank you so much for joining our program today. Benjamin and I are really grateful that you make time to join us every morning. And it's also great to hear your views and thoughts, but...
It's one of my most refreshing parts of the show, actually.
Yes.
Really allowing the people to share their thoughts with us.
But
we look forward to hearing from you on Monday.
Yeah, we have to end it now, but do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please, if you have to travel, drive cautiously. Don't drink and drive. Don't drive when you're tired. We need you alive on Monday so that we can be back here again with you to do what we do best. But for now, it will be goodbye from Benjamin and myself. Do stay. News Desk is up next.